right now because that dam is based off of the, was it the 100-year watermark or whatever,
Yeah.
they talk about that and
Yeah.
stuff, so if that dam is, so if it was raised a foot on year, yeah, you're right, it'd be
Okay, Denise is trying to get us online, but there's quite a few signed up for public comment. And we like to start our board meetings at 9 o'clock, and so you could kind of limit yourself on the time. Okay, and the first one is Birchides, I believe, Bill, Julie, and Anthony, is it? And if you state your name and so forth, so.
Oh, yes. You just push the button. I'm just not turning mine on because I'm not talking.
Good morning, and we certainly can limit our time here. I'm Bill Burscheit, my wife Julie, and our son Anthony. And we're just here to visit with you a little bit about solar. We've been approached numerous times through the years in regards to solar projects. We have, I think on 4 or 5 different occasions, opened ourselves up to that discussion. In other words, allowed people to look at our real estate. We own somewhere around 1,100 acres in Todd County. And in all of those projects, except this last one, it's very rapidly gone away. And we did not pay any attention to as to why that was. This last one, when they approached us, I asked that we be kept completely informed as the process went on as to why and what was happening with the permitting of the process. And so, you know, once again, we allowed them access to our 1,100 acres to go through their process of screening. 50% of those acres were taken out because they're REA versus MP&L. And then when we applied Todd County zoning to that, we very rapidly rabbit-holed that down to, I think, about 150 acres or so that would have been in Minnesota Power and could possibly have been developed for solar. Then once we applied more of the zoning within Todd County, we came down to, we're looking at a parcel that's about 40 acres. When I look at that 40-acre parcel, and I think if you guys take time to visit with Adam at Planning and Zoning, you would agree with me that that's a parcel that we probably don't want to develop in its entirety as a solar project. It's a densely forested 40 acres, and I know politically where we would land if we deforest 40 acres to put solar on it. So I think that's the end of my presentation. I think we as a county, as zoning within the county, need to look at what we're doing with solar. I think it needs to be revisited. I think there's a lot of, well, I know there's a lot of tax dollars going out of the county to subsidize solar, and at this point, there's really nothing coming back into the county. I think there's potential there. I can understand why, as a county, we would want to be cautious and not just jump into it and have some albatross that you know, ends up being a cleanup project. But I think solar's gone far enough that we're maybe past that. So I think that's my presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think as commissioners, we have been through different sessions through AMC on solar and so forth. So, you know, we've had some.
Right, education on it.
Yeah, yeah.
I know time is of the limit here, but,
Yeah.
or of the central here, but I got one quick question for you. What did they say about disposal? Is it your responsibility, or are they gonna dispose of them when the time comes?
They are responsible. Everything, I think Adam has all the paperwork at this point that we've put together. Otherwise, you can certainly reach out to us.
Thank you.
We have a packet of information. We would be happy to discuss any portion of this with you.
And maybe it would be a work session type deal.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
I would
not
just
now.
say that there are significant dollars here. There are significant dollars. So I think it needs a look at a minimum. It needs a look.
Okay,
I'll
thank
reach
you.
out, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for coming in.
Myself.
Next is Carrie.
Carrie Pico, I gotta tell you, I had much more fun yesterday morning getting the mower pulled. I wanna talk about some situations we got going on over by my place that continue, and it's basically as a result of total lack of enforcement, which I don't understand why that's continuing. This is kind of what I'm living with. I don't know if you can hear it that well, but that's 50 feet from the back of my house. That fence was put in conditional use permit 10 years after the time limit was specified. The previous owner fought with the guy beforehand. He was bullied into walking out on his mortgage. He witnessed numerous illegal acts going on, as well as while he was trying to sell his house, there was junk piled behind his house during the viewings. He also has told me that he's presented you guys at one time with pictures of that business burying multiple semi-loads of tires back there. The fence got put in after, as a retaliation, me calling into the sheriff's office because I got smoked out. He was burning multiple tires mixed in with a dump truck load of copper wire to make the wire cost more. There is a police report with pictures at the sheriff's office. The county dropped the charges, which would have been a felony. Neither of these businesses over here should be there in the first place. You guys are supposed to follow state laws and conform all of your ordinances around state laws and homeowner rights. There's a state law that none of the junkyards, or farm equipment can be within 1,000 feet of Highway 71. I have the certificate when they built the place for 1976, that passed in 1971. I have their CUPs here that say they're to work within the building. I mean, if that's followed, I shouldn't see anything from my house. I had a bank appraisal come through a week ago that stated my house was devalued from the, how was it worded? The commercial activity in the area. I'm still dealing with the fence every step of the way. We've found a way to lessen somebody's obligations to do something and nothing ever happens. Right now, I'm told that Adam has a solution, but it involves me ripping out my landscaping and trees and allowing them to come through my property. It's too hard for them to come through their own. And then they're gonna have to do that to maintain it and mow, but they don't wanna take down the fence that is not up to the ordinance. They wanna keep that. Somehow that's okay for them to break the ordinance. It starts out at 9 foot, it drops down to 7 and up and down, and it looks like crap. When you guys pass these CUPs, you have to follow the state laws as well as homeowner rights. And it's sight, sound, and smells. And no matter if you throw it in a packet and tell people at an ag zone they're gonna deal with it, that doesn't waive. Those are a guarantee by the state of Minnesota that I have those rights in my home, and I've had all 3 of them violated. Sorry, I lost train of thought. I've had Adam stand out there and tell me that the county doesn't have to obey state laws when the fence went up the first time. His answer so far to solve the problem is to not enforce the things. Now here's where you guys get a conundrum, because you've got businesses that are having to jump through hoops with their conditional use permits to get passed, and they're trying to do things right, and they're getting denied, like Dairy Ridge. And you've got these other ones that aren't even legal to be there, and they're given a sovereign citizen card on their CUP. They're allowed to expand however they want. I have a CUP too for a housing development and a right to build another house. Does that mean I can turn my chunk into a trailer park? I mean, where does it stop? Certain people have to follow laws, and we're picking and choosing who has to do what. I've been dealing with this fence for 13 months behind my house. He won't enforce anything to the law, but he'll take the goats, the 4-H goats, away from a family a half-mile down the road. That doesn't seem like a good use of our county's resources as far as that goes. Picking and choosing who has to follow your guys' ordinances. Why are you guys even here? You pass a cannabis ordinance or something that, you know, these main things that you're discussing, he gets to choose who has to follow it just by not enforcing. And this has continued on. It's gone on for 12 years. We've got one family that's had to walk out on their mortgage because planning and zoning has derelicted their duties and decided not to uphold things for certain people. And now I tell you what, after dealing with that and having to hear that when I sleep at night, I'm doing everything I can to get out of there. And that was our dream, to buy that place. Like, it looked awesome when we bought it. I stuck a ton of money into it, and I can't get out of there fast enough. And you can't tell me that hearing this, when you're showing your house, hearing this is gonna sell my place. I'm also being told that that shouldn't affect my property value. Well, you've got all these lake properties that you don't own the lake, but you can view it, and it makes their properties worth more. Why does it always only go one way? And I get excuses from planning and zoning that it's always been there. So if you break the law long enough, it just makes it okay. I mean, Joe down the road, he's been driving drunk for 30 years. Does that exempt him? If the sheriff's office decides a certain family can drive drunk or steal stuff, that's criminal. They can lose their license. But we can pick and choose here. It's not fair. You're not being fair to these other businesses that are trying to do things right, and then flat out. And if you notice, I didn't name drop the exact business because I don't think it's their fault. I think it's planning and zoning.
Okay, I hate to interrupt you, Carrie, but we gotta move on. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you for coming.
There's a Larry is next on the list.
Larry, did you sign up?
Gary, maybe?
No,
Gary?
Larry?
Signed in for the meeting.
Oh, okay,
You can cross him off.
okay, and
He's just here
then
to watch.
Mark from Osakis?
LeBron.
Sign in for the meeting.
Oh,
They just thought
okay,
they had to
Sign in
sign
for the
in
meeting.
to come to the meeting.
okay. Well, that made it,
Better.
yeah. Yeah, then we're on time, okay. I didn't want to interrupt Carrie, but,
We tried with him. With that shit, he going on his land. We talked to him twice, we said, Carrie, let us, there's minutes, let us get that out. We're not gonna let that.
Did he know Carrie was
Sign
in
on
the
it.
I'm sure he didn't, but who knows what's gonna be true.
Right, that public land. This is,
The fence back carries.
yes, he should be able to meeting.
Like, we,
you got 1 minute.
I'm just wondering.
We're in zoning board, we
What's
took
that?
it, cause like even,
Kick some cans down the road.
You got 1 minute, Mr. Byers.
Yeah, that's, I told him.
And then
sure.
But you're-
I'm scared, we came right back.
You know what you're asking me
and
before?
if you.
Yeah.
and if you read
But those,
that,
those cups don't
Yeah.
transfer with the business.
That's completely
Stays,
changed
it
now.
stays with the land.
Oh, wow,
State law.
Okay,
Well, it doesn't take much.
Stays with the land, not the owner. Stays with the land.
wonderful.
interesting.
So
Could be a fun day.
we did something probably in March.
I have 9 o'clock, Barb.
You ready to go?
Put your name back in
Okay.
the hat, Bob.
Good morning, and welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Today is Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. The time is 9 o'clock. Roll call, all commissioners are present along with our auditor treasurer and our coordinator. We will now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Madam Chair.
Okay, being there's no amendments to the agenda, I'd ask for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second. Sorry, Bob. I'll take it.
Second by Nazca.
Was I?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Next, consent items, Denise?
Consent items today, we have the meeting minute approval for August 6th and 14th, 2024. Hire of a part-time dispatcher, Kayla Anderson, start date to be determined. Resignation, Emily Olson, solid waste seasonal worker, 8/10/2024. Hire paraprofessional case aide, Cheryl Klemick, start date to be determined. Hire seasonal office support specialist 2, EAP, Lean Martin, start date to be determined.
Okay, hearing the consent items, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
For the auditor,
Yep.
treasurer, commissioner warrants today, background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $68,602.69.
Okay, is there a motion for the commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, a roll call, excuse me.
Commissioner Byers,
Yay.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Denny,
Yes.
Commissioner Nazca,
Yes.
Commissioner Becker.
Yes,
Thank you. The next item I have is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $169,114.82.
okay, is there a motion for approval of the Health and Human Service Commission warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call?
Commissioner Nazca?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Next item I would be having is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $152,731.93.
Is there approval for the Health and Human Services SSIS warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do roll call.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Commissioner Nazca?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
My last item then would be the transfer of funds, ARP, project expenses. The background, there exists ARP SLFRF, used expensed funds which have been approved by the county board involving the support of staffing positions. These expenses are not able to be billed directly to Fund 19 or ARPA account and are now necessitating to realign the county departments that incurred these expenses for inclusion of the reporting of the U.S. Treasury. In order to comply with the audit standards, it's recommended to approve this transfer of funds. So what we are doing is we are transferring from the ARPA fund back to the Health and Human Services of $2,865.29. The recommendation is to either approve or do not approve, and we are recommending to approve the attached resolution for the transfer of funds for ARPA expenses.
Okay, is there a motion for the transfer of the ARPA funds back to Health and Human Services, you said?
Well, I think these were ones that we allocated from the ARPA fund, and we were using them for wages, and we no longer are, so
Okay.
they will remain in that, yes.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Nazca, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Next, we'll do the Todd County Historical Society.
Today,
Hello.
we have Dee Eberly with us. She'll just be doing an annual update that we ask of all of our committees that we allocate funds to.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, we stick the wrong one.
Morning, Dee.
We have to do this before, so this is something new, and you're never too old to learn, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay, and What would you like to hear? I was asked to bring our financial statement for the month. I brought that. And you would like to know what we do? All at the museum?
Kind of an overview of what went on this year, yes.
Okay. As most of you know, the museum is located right on Main Street across from the post office. And we're open Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays from 11:30 to 4. Otherwise, we're open by reservations. And we greet our customers. They come in from all over Minnesota and the United States to do genealogy on their families and the history of Todd County. And we have 505 microfilms that we get from the newspapers. The Minnesota Historical Society has put all the newspapers in Todd County online. And so that slows down a lot of our people that come in to do genealogy, to look up from the Long Prairie Leader or Todd County, because now you can sit at home and look at it yourself. So our people coming into the museum has slowed down some. And we are busy. We do school tours, family tours, class reunions, different things that people would like to do, we will do for them. And lately, must be getting close to class reunion time because we've had several people come in asking to do class reunion like Saturday afternoon. So we open up for a couple hours for them to come in. And we do research, and we have, we do our own research, or if the people that come in know how to do some of the work, can research for themselves. And we try to keep our fees down, but we charge $20 an hour to do research. And our visitors for 2023 was around 400 people that came in. And so far this year, it's 150, so we have a lot less, almost half so far, but I think it's due to the fact that Minnesota Historical Society put all the papers, the local papers, on the internet, so you can stay home and look. And when they can't find it at home, and then they call us, then it takes 3 times longer because they've researched all the easy places. Yes, and there are 2 of us that work, and we do most of the maintenance ourselves. We keep the museum clean. Once a year, the janitors come in and with their big scrubber and scrubs the floor. Otherwise, us girls do all the work ourselves. So that's pretty much what I have to say. If
Okay.
anybody has any questions, you can let us know.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. Do you send an invitation out to the schools at all and invite them to tour?
Yes, we do, and we do for the local businesses, and our we've had open house for the law enforcement and for the other people in town too, the fire department. We do it one evening from like 4, and we don't do it every year. I kind of do it every other year, and we always have a nice turnout. We try to do it, I try to call and find out the best night for the organization for them to be able to come. And we just serve a light lunch, and we show sometimes films if they're interested in something special. And we had that new printer reader that we applied for a grant, and it was $12,000. And on that reader, we can put all that microfilm we have. So we show those people how to do that, because it's one of the big, best, fastest, easiest way to get information.
Okay.
So that's pretty much our day.
Okay. And basically, we ask everybody that we give county money to come in and give us a financial report and kind of what they're doing, so we have an idea of what we're spending our
I
money
brought
on.
a statement, but I didn't
Yes.
bring it ahead of time. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You want me to give it to the girls?
yeah, you can just give it to Denise.
Have
they
that
got
on
it.
mine.
Oh, you've
It's
got
right
it.
here.
Got it on-
Okay.
Yep, I got it right on the
Okay.
screen.
Right.
We're good.
Okay, real good. Any questions? Thank you for the work you do.
Yeah, anybody have any
Appreciate it.
suggestions what I can do better?
We did visit the Historical Society over the fair. You had a very nice presentation. We filled out our slips of paper of, I think it was how old the tree was, and named the cow, or, you know. So, yeah, you had different things going on there.
We heard a lot of good compliments on our fair building. If you remember, a few years back, I came and asked to get new siding.
Yes,
Yes, and that really made a big difference, and our volunteers at the museum helped finish the inside. And now we're really proud. We get lots of nice compliments on our county.
yeah. And also, you don't have the water problem anymore, do you? I think that we fixed that water that
Yes.
was flowing through your building, and that's taken care of also, correct? Okay, good.
They came out last fall, and so far this year, it's been really good. Otherwise, yes, it was a mess. The water came in under the doors and everything. Well, it wasn't so bad, the water, it was the dirt and the dried grass. And then when it got between all the machinery and everything, it was a tough time to remove it and clean it up.
Very
So,
good.
yes,
Good we got
thank
that
you.
taken care of. Thank you.
Thanks, Dee.
Steve.
Thanks, Dee.
Yep. With that, we will go on to the Great River Regional Library. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm Karen Punsack. I'm the Executive Director for Great River Regional Library.
And my name is Amy Anderson. I'm the Associate Director of Accounting for Great River Regional Library.
We want to thank you for some time this morning to share our budget process. We typically come to Todd County twice a year. At the beginning, we talk about all of the things the previous year, and then we have to have our budget set by August 1st through our joint powers agreement. So right after the board sets the budget, we come around to all 6 counties and talk about how that process worked. As you probably know, you're one of 6 counties in the Great River Regional Library System. It is a longtime partnership. We've been together since 1969. I think Todd County joined around 71. But it is quite a collaboration to offer services in 32 communities across 6 counties, and we're really proud of how it works. Commissioner Tim Denny's been on our board now for almost 2 years, and he's part of our budget setting process. Through the agreement, each county pays based on borrower numbers, net tax capacity, and population. So even if our budget stays the same from one year to the next, those factors can fluctuate from one year to the next. So it's always an interesting discussion to see how the formula is coming in, what does the state funding look like, and how do the small counties fit with the larger counties. One of the things that has changed over the last couple of years, our board is a 15-member board. Each county has 1 commissioner representing their county, and then the counties with the largest proportion of the budget actually have citizen members appointed. So last year, Wright County exceeded Stearns County in their contributions for the first time because of the way the formula is shaping up. And now they have gained a seat on the board, and Stearns County has 1 less. So it's there's a lot of little pieces that go into the budget. Our strategic plan is a 5-year plan. It will be wrapping up at the end of next year. So we'll be shaping our next strategic plan based on what we hear from our communities and what they need. Last time we added the theory of change, that Great River exists so that people in our communities can find and use trusted information that they need to thrive. And we take that mission very seriously and are really proud to be able to offer all kinds of services regardless of need across the entire region. Todd County has 4 libraries, and you can see them on the next slide. Up in the left-hand corner is the Eagle Bend Public Library. They just expanded this year, so if you haven't been to Eagle Bend, it's definitely worth a stop. You may remember that the vision for this project started almost 10 years ago when the property next to the library was up for tax forfeiture from Todd County. And later, the city purchased that from the county, they expanded the building, and that facility is actually shared with the Eagle Bend Museum as well as the library. So the museum has now moved into the new space and library occupies the full space. It's a very nice remodel. Really proud of what the community was able to accomplish there. The other 3 locations are in Staples, Long Prairie, and Gray Eagle, and all of the cities are responsible for their buildings, so that's the contribution they have. And then Great River provides the staff, the computers, and the books, and the things that make the library go. So it's a great partnership between everyone who's involved. And Amy will tell you a little bit about how the budget process works. As I mentioned, this is formed through our signatory agreement, and then we have a finance committee that includes a commissioner from each county, and then the citizen member on that finance committee is President Jane Dietz, who is a representative from Sherburne County this year. And that budget process looks at what it costs to provide library service the same way as last year. If our overdrive contract goes up 3%, that's built in. If we have negotiated wage increases, that gets built in. And we just look at apples to apples, what is it going to cost just to do business the same way? And that's the starting point for the conversation.
This year, the Great River Regional Library Board adopted its 2025 budget at their July 16th meeting. The Todd County contributions from 2015 are illustrated by the turquoise line on this slide. This next slide is a pie chart that breaks down our library system's revenue budget by funding source for the 2025 fiscal year. To keep county contributions as flat as possible, budget surplus dollars from 2024 were rolled forward, along with reserves that were also incorporated. Together, these two amounts total $622,744, which makes up 5.91% of our revenue lines. Overall, county contributions will make up 70% of the overall budget in 2025. The organization's 3 largest expense categories are personnel costs, library materials, and service and equipment contracts. The remaining expenses include technology software and associated equipment, and regional delivery and supply costs. Next slide, please. Todd County will contribute $347,905 in 2025. This is a decrease of $1,859, or 0.531%. Some highlights from Todd County libraries include new materials available for patrons at the Eagle Bend Library to complement their expansion project. The Great Eagle location offers a book club designed specifically for teens and adults. Long Prairie has recently partnered with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to display a food waste exhibit. And the Staples Library hosts a mobile Minnesota Workforce Center each month. This partnership offers patrons in-person assistance with job applications, resume building, and interviewing skills. The library system's overall budget for 2025 is $10.53 million, which is an increase of 3.26% from 2024. We're grateful for our board members and their dedication to learning how our library system operates. And we feel that the citizens of the 6 counties of the region benefit from their high levels of dedication and commitment. Statewide, revenues per capita spent for public library services is $43.56. Within Great River, that per capita spending decreases to $20.44. And you can see that Todd County again decreases to $13.58 per capita. This illustrates the efficiencies of having streamlined operations across the Great River system, and it also demonstrates how utilizing a region-wide floating collection of materials offers the largest selections of titles and kits to all county residents. Next slide, please. The 2025 budget continues to support the popular Wi-Fi to Go program, which are hotspots available for patrons to check out for a 1 or 3 week time period, and the regional fines-free initiatives. Just to clarify, patrons are still responsible for replacing lost materials, but are no longer assessed a late fee for missing a due date. We want to thank you for your continued support of the library system and its services, and are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? You do an awesome job. I mean, continuing every year. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we are grateful for Todd County's contributions. It's a challenge to have an organization that's so staff-heavy, but it's partly because the cities are providing the buildings on the other side of it. And, you know, in today's environment, having 240 employees and most of them being part-time has been a particular challenge. So we work very hard to keep county contributions down, but, you know, it's a tough balance.
Okay. Very good.
Board worked very hard on this year's financials to get everything in order to make sure every county was represented well and kind of fair amongst everybody. And that's tough when we vary in size so drastically. So it was a lot of time and effort, and we appreciate everything you guys do. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
We don't, Denise, we don't approve this budget or anything at this time. It's just the presentation to
It's
us.
just their update.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Works.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lauren.
Turn that off. Good morning.
The one item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request for authorization to purchase a Bobcat 77 skid loader. And I'll summarize the background here. In this year's capital improvement program or equipment replacement program for the Public Works, we had in the budget to add to the fleet a track skid loader for work in the public right-of-way. In the budget and through the bidding process, we determined that we were a little short for funding, right around the $16,000 mark, and we discussed this with the board at the spring road meeting. With that, with the help of our county coordinator, the county applied for additional $16,000 of Sourcewell Community Impact Funding Grant and received that grant. Therefore, we went out through the state bid process and got a local quote from Farm right here in Long Prairie for the purchase of a Bobcat 77 skid loader for $76,649.85, with $16,000 of that being funded through that grant. So our options are this time to approve the attached state bid quote to purchase a Bobcat 77 skid loader from Farm right Equipment for that set amount of $76,469.85, or do not approve the purchase of the skid loader at this time. And our recommendation is to move forward with the purchase of that skid loader.
If I could ask just one question before I ask for a motion. Did we get another bid on this, Lauren, or not?
We typically don't because it's on the state bid, so
Okay,
we're not required.
okay. With that, I'd ask for a motion to authorize to purchase a Bobcat 770 skid loader.
So moved.
Motion by Noska, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is our first track Bobcat, isn't it?
Yeah, this will be our first one. The crew is really excited about that. The maneuverability and safety of a track skid loader, we think, will pay dividends for a long time. Just be able to get to places on the right-of-way, down the slopes at a safer condition. Putting on our mower head and brush head on that will help clear the right-of-way, clear out that clear zone for the traveling public and the sight distance for everybody to see. They're very excited to have this piece of equipment.
Yeah, because it doesn't tear up like the other ones.
Or get stuck.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. So good. And thank you, Jackie, too,
Yes, I
for
just want to
submitting
say
that
thanks to Jackie
Sourcewell.
for helping us with that. We truly appreciate it. And thanks to the board for being supportive of this purchase. So, thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Good morning, Adam.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, my first item this morning is the establishment of an interim ordinance on cannabis-related businesses. An interim ordinance to establish a moratorium on cannabis-related businesses was publicly noticed on July 18th. The ordinance was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the August 1st public hearing. Recommendation from the Planning Commission is to adopt the interim ordinance as attached here. This interim ordinance was also then presented at the August 6th Commissioners' Work Session. Options are to adopt the interim ordinance or do not. Recommendation is to adopt the interim ordinance to establish a moratorium on adult-use cannabis businesses until July 1st, 2025.
Okay, with that, I'd ask for a motion to establish interim ordinance on cannabis-related businesses.
So moved.
Motion by Newman, second by Byers. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries.
Okay, next is the Leaf Wing Red Eye Watershed Agreement of Services. The Leaf Wing Red Eye Watershed has received the second round of WBIF grant funding. Todd County has secured $10,000 for septic cost share. The agreement of services needs to be approved and signed by the board in order to access the funding. Options are to adopt the agreement of services or to not. And the recommendation is to adopt the Leaf Wing Red Eye Agreement of Services to receive WBIF grant funding.
Okay, I ask for a motion for adoption of the Leaf Wing Red Eye Watershed Agreement.
So moved.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, moving along. The Pratt request for CUP. An application for CUP to establish a retail greenhouse on parcel 2200187000 in Staples Township was submitted on July 8th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the August 1st public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings, and deny the CUP or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, the greenhouse operator must provide adequate off-street parking for all greenhouse traffic. No parking will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 2, no loading or unloading of materials will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 3, the business is restricted to the construction of a single greenhouse as proposed. Construction of additional greenhouses or expansion to the existing greenhouse will require the review of the Planning Commission. 4, business signage must abide by the home-based business requirements, section 9.15 of the Todd County Planning and Zoning Ordinance. Placement of signage within the road right-of-way shall require approval of the road authority. And 5, that the applicant must obtain additional permitting and/or licensing from additional governmental agencies as necessary.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the Pratt CUP request.
So moved.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, next is the Schwartzentruber request for CUP. An application for CUP to establish a woodworking shop on parcel 2000333700 in Reynolds Township was submitted on July 12th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the August 1st public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with the proposed conditions, develop findings, and deny the CUP, or 3, remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. 2, all waste materials such as paint, stains, and solvents must be disposed of according to applicable state and local requirements. 3, there shall be no loading or unloading of material within the road right-of-way. 4, all components of the operation shall be located outside the public right-of-way. And 5, the applicant shall abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I ask for a motion for this, how do you say his name?
Schwartzentruber.
Very good. CUP.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Nazca, is there a second?
Seconded.
Second by Byers. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, next, Mid-Minnesota grinding and mulch request for CUP. An application for CUP for wood and fiber processing on parcel 1000030200 in Gordon Township was submitted on July 10th. Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the August 1st public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. The options are to grant the CUP with those proposed conditions, develop findings and deny the CUP, or 3, remand it back to the planning commission for further consideration. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the planning commission and grant the CUP with the following conditions. 1, off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. 2, all components of the operation shall be located outside the public right-of-way. 3, there shall be no loading or unloading of material within the road right-of-way. 4, hours of operation shall be limited to 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 to 5 on Saturdays. There shall be no operation on Sundays. 5, lighting of the worksite shall not cast, shall not cast light beyond the worksite area. All lighting shall be hooded. And 6, the applicant abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards. Now, in this one, Mark, the applicant, did provide a follow-up letter about the hours of operation in there too. That was in the packet. Hopefully you've had the chance to look at that. Also, Mark is here this morning if you had any questions for him also.
Okay. Yeah, and I believe the request was to do like 6 a.m.?
6 a.m. to, yes.
Yes, if you would like to.
Hi, my name is Mark LeBrun, the owner of Mid-Minnesota. I would like to extend my times earlier in the morning, because like in my busy season, I gotta get multiple loads out all over the state, up into North Dakota and that. And when I go to a 7 o'clock time, it really sets back and it has effect on how many loads I can get delivered in a day. I won't be doing any grinding or anything. It's just a matter of a loader loading my trailer and that. So I would like to extend my times. I know it's like gravel pits are a half hour before sunrise and half hour after. I'm not making as much noise in them. It'd be nice to maybe go to that route of times and that. So, but my grinding is limited, you know, like I was saying at the planning zoning meeting, that out of my times are for making mulch are from April to probably right now and that, because it just kind of dies down over the summer. So I'm on a limited time to make mulch and that. And so far my total days of grinding are probably about 35 days out of since April 15th. So majority of the time it's not even running. It's just certain days of the week, you know, so. I'm just asking to extend my time to longer days so I can load my trailers and that, because there's times I need to be taken off at 6 o'clock in the morning to get up to Fargo. Then I gotta get back and I gotta do 3 or 4 more loads, and and to get loaded and that, it's really tough to do that 7 to 7 time.
Okay, commissioners?
Madam Chair, if I may, I feel like on this one, we could just follow the aggregate rule, the half hour before sunrise and half hour after sunset, if that to make it cleaner, but.
Madam Chair, if I may. Was there a reason these times were set? Was there some community input or something like that said that they wanted 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or was there complaints about that?
Yeah, there was public input at the planning commission hearing, but when I developed those recommendations, I had looked back at some of the conditions we created for Amish sawmills, just as a starting off point for conversation.
So these dates weren't asked for by these times weren't asked for by neighbors or anything?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's feasible to do that.
As I asked for a motion, then we would change that number 4. Because it's listed under number 4, the hours of operation.
Yeah.
And your Saturdays and Sundays would stay the same then? It would still be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, and then nothing on Sundays?
So far, I haven't had a time where I'd have to, Sundays, yeah, I need days off too.
Right,
So,
I understand.
So it's Saturdays, I'm not saying I can't load before then, deliver some local stuff in that.
Yeah.
But it would be it wouldn't be any grinding before that time.
Yeah.
It'd be just pretty much loading my trailers with equipment.
So Madam Chair, the other thing I'd like to address is one of the planning commission members brought up the light. And if you'd ever been out where Mark does this, the light is not a problem because there's neighbors, they're not even close.
Yeah.
So,
I checked, I'm sorry to interrupt. I checked on hoods. They don't make hoods for those lights.
Well, and that bothered me because he said, one of the planning commission members said, well, I have a neighbor's light that shines into my dining room, and that has nothing to do with your project. So I'd like to have that one removed.
Okay,
Can we just modify the lighting shall be hooded? I mean, that's, because he shouldn't have to try to make hoods for these things if he can't even find them. I mean, like that.
Cause I called, next day I called the electrician, he said, I can't really find any of these.
Right.
And that, I mean,
And if you drive by the site at night,
Right.
yeah, it's just like, yeah.
okay,
it's not very often I have the lights on because of safety. It's just pretty much maybe a half hour in the morning to get things oil checked and all that, you know, and that. So it's a safety thing too, so I don't run my grinder late at nights.
Right,
okay. I'll ask for a motion, Randy. You were going to make it, so how do you want it to read?
okay. Let's address the hours of operation. You want to go half an hour
Yeah, I'd be more
before
than
sunrise and
happy
half
with
an
that.
hour after?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll modify number 4, okay? And then number 5, if you can't find hoods, it's just leave it, eliminate it.
Eliminate number 5 altogether.
Yeah,
Okay. Would you like me to review those then?
Yes, if you
Okay.
would want to review them.
Okay, so 1, 2, and 3 will remain the same. 4 would read the hours of operation shall be limited to 1/2 hour before sunrise to 1/2 hour after sunset, Monday through, the ordinance for the gravel and mine or the extraction uses does say Monday through Saturday. But are we looking to match that? Okay, so then it would read, hours of operation shall be limited to 1/2 hour before and 1/2 hour after sunset, Monday through Saturday. There shall be no operating on Sundays. Number 5, scratch. Number 6 is to abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay. And I have a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
And I'll get those changes to the clerk's email this morning.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, next, Linwood Cabins Final Plat. An application to establish a 9-lot residential plan unit development on parcel 10-00-14900 in Gordon Township was submitted on August 10th, 2023. Preliminary plat was approved September 9th, 2023 by the Board of Commissioners with 7 conditions. 1, creation of a property owners association agreement including mandatory membership of all property owners with inclusion of Todd County as participating member. 2, creation of deed restrictions, covenants, or other instruments in accordance with section 7.16C, part 3 of the Planning and Zoning Ordinance with inclusion of Todd County as a participating member. 3, no additional impervious surface shall be allowed within the shore or bluff impact zones. 4, no outward expansion will be allowed to existing structures. Lot 6 shall be allowed to construct 1 lakeside deck not to exceed 150 square feet. 5, boat mooring sites shall not exceed 9 slips. 6, no construction or replacement of accessory structures will be allowed within the common space. 7, applicant must obtain additional permits and authorization as required from other agencies, including but not limited to the Sauk River Watershed District. Planning and Zoning has completed the review of Linwood Cabins as determined that it is ready for final plating. Options are to approve the final plat as presented, deny the final plat. Recommendation is approval of the final plat as presented to formally establish Linwood Cabins.
Okay, do I have a motion for the Linwood Cabins final plat?
so moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's getting to be fewer and fewer resorts on Lake Osakis.
And this one's currently existing, correct? Is it, I mean, it's being operated as a resort already? So just dot your i's and cross your t's.
You won't have that rotation of people in and out once a week. So that's, yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chris.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am here today
Sorry. I'm on the wrong thing
to
there.
present an abatement on behalf of parcel 22-00000200. The home on this parcel was destroyed by fire on March 25th, 2024. The owners have applied for an abatement of the 2024 taxes and a reduction of the 2024 market value for taxes payable in '25. I believe some background information's been presented to the commissioners. Denise, do you have that?
Which one do you want to look at? Anything?
The first one's the statute that just is written proof of the permissions that we have, and if we scroll down further, nope. It should be in the first doc.
Well, we had to attach these after because we messed up and didn't.
Yeah, you can just scroll. I scanned it all in as one. The highlighted one is your item. This is the field sheet. It's obviously flipped right now. This shows the property value both before, which has been stricken, and after, which is highlighted. Shows the new value post destruction. Keep scrolling, please. The items in red are the items that no longer have value. There's a picture of the house. The garage still exists. The land obviously still exists. If you can continue to scroll further. Current tax statement. Recalculated tax statement, and one more sheet which shows the prorated amount. So the total abated amount due to the fire would be $1,397. No, excuse me, for $1,451. If you want to go back to the BAF.
Sure. Oh, man, I am all over the place, sorry.
That's all right. So our options today are to approve the abatement of the 2024 property taxes in the amount of $1,451 and a reduction of the 2024 market value of $192,000. Or to deny the request. My recommendation today is to approve the abatement and reduction of taxes as presented.
Okay, is there a motion for the approval of abatement for 22-0000-200?
So moved.
Motion by Noska, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers, discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Good morning, Madam Chair,
Good
Commissioners.
morning, Jackie.
Morning.
I was requested to bring forth a couple BAFs, and I'm happy to do that. First one is on the ARPA funds for the eligibility worker to approve the final project. Some background, beginning of October 2021 and extended in April 2023, ARPA funds were approved by the county board to be obligated to support an eligibility worker position through 12/31/24 with a total estimate of $91,297. The total costs incurred for this project are $50,151.05, and at this time, HHS is recommending to close this obligation and allow the remaining funds of $41,145.95 to be available for other proposed projects. Your options are to approve the final amount of ARPA funds previously authorized via BAF 2021-1005-36 and 2023-04-29 for the eligibility worker at $50,151.05 and allow the remaining funds of $41,145.95 to be returned to the ARPA fund for other projects, proposed projects, or to not approve. It's our recommendation you approve the ARPA funds previously authorized via BA 2021-1005-36 and 2023-04-29 for the eligibility worker at $50,151.05 and allow the remaining funds of $41,145.95 to be returned to the ARPA fund for the other proposed projects.
Okay, I need a motion for the remaining ARPA funds, or the remaining dollar amount of $41,145.95 to be returned back to the ARPA funds for other projects.
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca, discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and carries.
Thank you, that was mouthful. We have budgeted that position in our budget for 2025.
Okay,
So.
very good.
Next board action form is the ARPA funds for senior meals. Approve the final project amount. Some background. On March 15th, 2022, ARPA funds were approved by the county board to be obligated to subsidize financial support for the demands of the home delivered meal program for seniors with a total estimated cost of $10,000. The total costs incurred for this project are $2,954. And at this time, HHS is recommending to close this obligation and allow the remaining funds of $7,046 to be available for other proposed projects. It's your option to approve the final amount of the ARPA funds previously authorized via BAF 20315-27 for the senior meals to support at $2,954 and allow the remaining funds of that $7,046 to be returned to the ARPA funds for the other proposed projects, or to not approve. It's our recommendation that you approve this request.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion for the senior meals extra money, $7,046 to be returned back to the ARPA funds for other proposed projects.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris. Administration?
Yes, so I'm, coming up here, we are presenting the county assessor reappointment. Minnesota statute 273.061 states that all counties shall have a county assessor, and the assessor shall be appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. Appointments shall be made for a term of 4 years, and reappointments are to be made 90 days prior to expiration as defined. And the appointment of Christopher Auden as county assessor is coming up to expire on December 31st, 2024. So your options today are to approve the attached resolution or to do not approve the attached resolution for reappointment of the county assessor, Christopher Auden.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the reappointment of Christopher Auden as our county assessor.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second by Byers. Discussion. Thank you, Chris. You got a hard job. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
And carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I should have come up and sat with Chris on the last one, but caught me off guard there. Okay, the Long Prairie Hockey Association has expressed interest in renewing their lease agreement, again with Todd County, for using the Expo building for the 2024-2025 hockey season. The 2022 lease agreement, as we go back, included language that the rent would be redetermined to include an annual incremental increase of 2%. The Todd County has implemented a 2% annual increase to lease agreements, including Region 5, Hands of Hope, and the Long Prairie Hockey Association. So that's kind of our standard. The Finance Committee has reviewed this lease agreement, and they recommend to continue the annual increase to the Long Prairie Hockey Association lease agreement. And just as a side note, Adam Knobloch, who represents the Long Prairie Hockey Association, was hoping to take over the keys on September 13th of this year. So as a side note, I wanted to mention that. Your options are to renew the Long Prairie Hockey Association lease agreement with the presented terms and conditions, or to do not renew the lease agreement.
Okay. And there was no other changes to the lease agreement, correct?
No, not from previous years, just the 2% annual increase.
Okay. With that, I'd ask for a motion to approve the Long Prairie Hockey Association lease agreement for the Expo building.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion?
Madam Chair, if
And
I may, the lease agreement does run September 15th, but as Jackie noted, he asked for 2 days extra. So that's just for this year. They'll get the keys on September 13th.
I was going to, yes, that's not part of the motion.
Just so we're aware of that.
Yeah. So it starts the 15th of September, the actual lease agreement, which will stay the same.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it would carry with the extension of letting them have the keys. I think we discussed this at work session, and all commissioners were in favor of them having the keys on the 13th, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And then we go into standing reports. County Auditor, Treasurer.
We're coming off of the primary election. That went very well. We didn't have any issues or hiccups. Probably only a 13% overall participation for the entire county. But we got that done and everything submitted to the state, and we canvassed here on Friday. Everything came out good with that. So now we're just moving forward with mobile home taxes at the end of August, right into the next election and into tax season again. So, and finishing up with budgets. We'll be hammering home on that in the next couple weeks to get a preliminary set by September 30th.
Okay.
Thank you.
County Attorney is not present right now. County Coordinator.
So this past week, we held our Todd County Employee Appreciation Picnic on Wednesday, and luckily the weather was great. We sent up a drone to say hi to all of our employees, and we had approximately 137 take part, along with takeout meals, not included. Great food was served, and we had a number of door prizes and freebies, so it was just beautiful weather. We had some of our county commissioners there. It was just a great event. And then what I've been doing recently, focusing in on, is a safe courthouse security grant, with the deadline being next Monday. So I'm kind of under a deadline working on that, but hoping to submit funds or requests for grant monies for safety features for our law enforcement justice center courthouse area. And then also wanted to just announce that we do have.
How much is he not? And there's going to be more lawn mowing, you know. And also, we had the discussion about summer versus winter, you know, where's this position should be, or, so. Those are kind of the questions we've had at Finance.
The other thing is scheduling, okay? If somebody wants to rent the pavilion out there, who do they contact? You know, they have been trying to contact, I believe, the Auditor Treasurer's Office, or try to track down one of the park board members, or they'll call me, and we need that point person. And a prime example is my family, our relatives rented Ferry Lake this weekend. Okay, it was $150 to rent it, okay? And the guy come, opened everything up, made sure that we had everything, all the gates were unlocked. So it's that type of individual I think we gotta have. So.
Well, in our office as well, throughout the summer, we'll get calls. I know you get bothered, but it gets used a lot, and then there's no toilet paper out there, there's debris laying around, there's a problem with the access. They're calling my office. I don't have anything to do with that. I don't have the first clue of who to contact or where the toilet paper is, and I don't know why my office would run out there and do that. So that's why this discussion
The AIS guys got
started.
me on speed dial, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's obviously a need for a position. It feels like we should be hiring more than one person with all the requests, but if we get one person to simplify, you could always do CDL preferred but not required, being that it's simple. As I should say simple, you can obtain it, throughout a little bit of testing time, but I think, a good structured schedule and a good cutoff date for when, if you were to split them to departments, if Mitch and Lauren were to share a good cutoff date to keep a clear vision about, we're done here and start here, and I hate to get somebody in that position to where, Randy gets a call and we pull this person over here, and then Denise needs a call and he goes over here, and it's just chaos. So I think good stability in here would be the key to success for this person right away.
Yeah, and I think, the county, we've already approved this person as far as hire.
Sure.
We just asked to wait till after July before we hired the person.
Yeah.
For budget reasons, but now it's like, which department should we put his under?
Right.
Madam Chair, if I may too,
Yeah.
I think it would be good with the finance committee and the planning process, to mimic maybe a seasonal worker first to see how it goes, much like the sheriff's, where you start the boat and water, it goes through the summer months, and see how that goes, kind of like a forestry office type position, where they'd be managing a park, doing the lawn mowing, things like that. Initiate that to see how it goes first before you implement a full-time position, unless you have the workload for them for the other half of the year, because right now, all we were looking at was the mowing summer type things, when we talked about it in finance. It's just my opinion on it, but.
I think the need there, I think the need in the county for a full-time position would be quite easy to find. I'm just speaking just for the fact there's always something to do, and always something that could be improved or maintained, or if we're not utilizing some stuff right now because we don't have an extra person for that. But I'll talk to you guys, or know what you need or what you want, or you could use an extra hand, but you guys, if you want to.
Yeah,
chime
I
in.
think we gotta hear from you guys.
As far as any type of utilization or contracting or renting of the county buildings, as far as the fairground goes, our center point is the auditor treasurer's department. So that, I would recommend that we keep that centrally located, because they already handle it. It's a finance thing already. The complexity of the issue, I do find, Lauren and I have had very little discussion on this. But if Battle Point Park is our main concern, maybe it's something of a contracted service that we do for that, because it seems to work well in our other areas that we have, as far as the individuals we have working within those areas. The contract, as far as the fairgrounds mowing and the Staples mowing, are pretty minute contracts as far as costing the county money. It's just a matter if we want to bring all of those things together, which obviously get very complicated, because we're talking about if in the winter this individual is helping out in the highway department, and in the summer is helping out in my department, is two different unions, which makes it very complex. So there's those type of things that maybe the best option is to hire somebody on a contract for the summer months to clean and mow. Maybe that's our best option as far as financially.
Cleaning and mowing is one thing. Scheduling stuff out there and maintaining stuff is the other. Okay. You're not going to be able to contract anybody out to maintain some of that stuff. Okay. It's county taxpayers' equipment, land. It's Todd County's facility.
But Randy, during the winter months, you wouldn't rent out that facility
No,
anyway.
you wouldn't.
So
but-
it would be really spring to fall.
Right. And if you look at Douglas County's Parks Department is within Public Works. It's out in their Public Works facility. I think a year ago, they advertise for somebody to do similar to what we're talking about.
Okay.
But they would work under Public Works,
Okay.
under that direction. Because number one, Public Works has the equipment, okay? If you're gonna be pulling docks and all that other stuff, you gotta have equipment. You gotta have the training to run the equipment, because it's a liability. So, I mean, if it's gonna be a full-time, it would probably go under Public Works. And I think that way we have stability. That's just my thoughts.
You know, I'm thinking, well, they could call it Public Works, but you guys, no one's there, not even no one's there on Fridays, so.
Yeah,
At
we're there
Public
till
Works
noon.
Barn.
Yep. But on a weekend, it would, for them to come out would require overtime for anybody.
That's why I was referring to the boat and water, because they do
Yeah.
work the weekends.
Yeah, a lot
And
of
it's a
people work
seasonal
weekend.
position that
It's a
runs
seasonal.
from, Mike, if you can say, do they come on like April, May? And run through?
Right before fishing season.
Right.
Buoys out and it goes until as late as the weather.
Yeah, and then they would be, they're required to work weekends, so.
Yeah.
A seasonal part-time position would be able to dictate the hours that you're gonna have them work. If you're gonna have contact points where our office would be the main person for rental, then you could have a part-time seasonal. That would be summer. And you may end up getting somebody that's a college kid that comes back for boat and water that's doing natural resources or becoming a, I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out, like, in my head, somebody tell me, like, here's the amount of hours, and maybe somebody can't tell me this, but I don't know if I would be able to make any decisions without knowing that, hey, this person's gonna be working X amount of hours, whatever. I mean, it seems like it's a need, but I don't see anything objectively, more subjectively here that tells us what that commitment is. Am I missing? Please inform me if I'm missing something, but.
You know, because either way, I mean, Lawrence and his Public Works people would have to help with the docks, because one person's not gonna do the docks back and forth. And I think you've been doing that for years, haven't you, Lauren?
The dock, no, we
Yeah.
haven't.
Oh, you haven't? Who does
No,
the
we've-
docks, Randy? Oh, you do it on your own.
He's done, he's too old for that stuff now.
One of the issues I see that we don't even have a clear definition of what projects, what areas need to be maintained, the schedule that they need to be maintained, the level of work. And I think it goes to what you're saying, we can't even come up with that list to give an estimated work hours or man hours, let's say, for that. With all these items on here and the complexity of all that, to schedule in a part-time person, who does the oversight for that and training every year? So to get a full-time person that has that consistency year after year will be more beneficial to the county than us having to go through the interview, the resignation process, retraining. That's hours and hours of staff time to accomplish that. I don't think you'll save any money having a part-time person by doing that. Having a full-time person that's dedicated to this position, whether it's in facilities or Public Works, will be the right path, in my opinion, to go.
Does the position have to have a CDL? Do we think there's enough projects and work that they wouldn't have to be called upon to do snow plowing in your department, Lauren? Could we?
One of the initial discussions on that was to have that person as a backup snowplower operator within Public Works during the winter months. But if they're doing work on the Lake Wobegon Trail, which Commissioner Newman spoke about, they'd be having a one-ton truck with a trailer and a skid loader, which would meet that weight limit to require a CDL. If they're taking out a small backhoe, tractor, mower, having that stuff, I think having a CDL operator would be beneficial.
Okay.
Not that it's an absolute requirement, but it allows that person we could recruit that person to be a full-time person and have that ability to send them out to help with those types of projects year-round.
Okay.
To speak to what Mitch was talking about earlier with contracted, couple of, like the park, or the fairgrounds and whatnot, could this position be, we start them off with you know, say the park's workload and whatever the winter workload, whatever it be. And then if there shows there's ample time, we could, you know, release some of them contracts and start taking them over. I mean, it's not like a huge financial implication to us right away to keep them, but that way we can kind of, we're not overwhelming this position with just, you're gonna be here, 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 and all this whatnot. I don't know, kind of being it's brand new, ease into it, and that way it's, because again, like Lauren said, you hate to get someone, burn them out, and say, oh, this is just completely chaos. I'm all over the county every other day, but and I don't want to do this. Then we start back over, retraining somebody else, rehiring. But if we get the right person and it's structured, and I agree, full-time position would have to be. Nothing against college students, but if we're going to do maintenance and whatnot, you want some people with some experience, whether it's carpentry or welding or whatever, or machinery operating. Like Lauren said, this is large. One-ton truck, trailer, skid loader, it's large equipment. You want somebody that knows what they're doing with capabilities to go out and do a task, you know, being you're paying them for that. But I would like to have, like to have years of experience on application over a few requirements, but just for the fact that stuff like this takes some know-how and some knowledge. Otherwise, you're going to put someone in a vulnerable situation, potentially get them hurt doing some stuff like this if they're not qualified. And I don't think most college students probably would be qualified again, but I'm not saying they're not qualified, but don't have the experience that would take.
Yeah, and my only comment on was that we do a lot of interns. Lauren has repeatedly gotten the same kids back for 4 years.
Sure.
So they know year to year what they're doing.
Right.
I don't think you have to retrain them every year. You get those kids back.
No, but that's a defined position. It's very
Right,
limited.
but what I'm saying, back
But-
to his college stuff though, I'm just saying, we just reviewed this. We haven't really wrapped our heads around it. So before we commit to something full-time, that's the only reason I was leaning towards that internship, is to try it 1 year to see.
Yeah.
Is it feasible? Does it warrant
You know,
the full-time benefit?
But Denise,
whatever you want to
when
call
you're
it,
talking
there's
this-
not a job description developed yet. There's not.
No, that's
here's
right.
your
That's why
list of-
we're here.
Here's your list of
Right.
duties. Well, then that's what I would like to see presented to us.
Right.
To me
We don't-
specifically, here's the duties. I'm gonna have him from April to June, do this and that and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I get,
That's what I was trying to say. We don't
I
have
think I
it
know where you're
defined.
going with that. We don't have even a defined list of what this person's gonna do yet.
what do you need from us to help, or what do you need from whoever to help do that? So we
great-
can bring it to board and.
It's a great question. We need a list of items that we can put for this person to accomplish and manage. Then we could put estimated hours to that, and then compare those costs, if we brought it inside the county, as compared to what Mitch was talking about. Maybe it would be cheaper just to consult everything out.
And it would be fair to the person, say this goes forward, it'd be fair to that person knowing what their plan
have
is
to,
for
yeah.
these duties and, you know, so maybe we should do an inventory of what Randy does and, you know, inventory all these things or whatever you want to call it and bring it to a personnel or finance meeting, whatever.
I think we'd bring it back to work session. I got a question for you, Lauren, though.
Yep.
If we hire someone through Mitch's department or on their own, can they use a public works tools like a skid steer and a trailer and a truck? Or do we have to get separate equipment for them
No,
if they're on a park
and I'll give this
board?
as an example. Mitch has come down to our office and used our equipment, various stuff. We borrow equipment back and forth. Even inside, is Mr. Aberly here?
Yeah.
He's borrowing a truck today. We do that all the time inside the county departments.
Within-
We borrowed stuff with
Yep.
the sheriff, back and forth. We work all the time.
Okay.
Yep.
And to me, that would be another point is, okay, so we hire another position, whatever, now we have to buy all this equipment for him. Where if we already have county equipment that, I'm looking at that skid steer with those tracks, you know, that he can use.
No, I mean, that's a piece of county equipment.
Okay,
Yes, funded under the Public Works Department.
right,
But for example, if facilities, Mike would need it for whatever reason, absolutely, we don't, it's all the county dollars.
okay. So where do you want to go with this, Randy?
I'm just, requesting that we really take a good, serious look at this, because I get calls all the time, okay, we're out of bathroom, or toilet paper. Okay, I gotta run up there, open it up, get the toilet paper in there. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm a county commissioner, okay, I'm in there scrubbing half an inch of crap off the damn toilets. And and then people calling me going, I need to reserve the pavilion. Okay, what if the park board decides to do like they did down at Ferry Lake? You start adding water in the bathroom. So you gotta have somebody to oversee all that stuff and make sure that it's taken care of and clean, okay? So again, Douglas County's got 7 parks. Their budget in their park department is millions, okay? We're trying to do this on a $25,000 budget, okay? And oversee 1 park and 8 miles of trail. And somebody's gotta take care of this stuff.
So maybe what I'm hearing is we need to start by making an inventory of everything we would want this position to take on. And then from the list, that might determine which department it would most likely or most be appropriate to fall under, based on the skills required too for the position. So maybe between, I mean, I would be willing to work with Mitch and Lauren and Commissioner Newman to figure out all the duties, and the rest of the commissioners, if there's anything you would like to see in that position, to come with an inventory.
Jackie, you want to see that at personnel, or do you want to see it back at work session like the first meeting in September?
Could you also maybe get a job description from the neighboring county just to see? You did
You,
that. Perfect.
okay. We do have a job description.
I'm thinking probably personnel. Would that?
Bring it to personnel first.
Right.
And then
You
back to
guys
a
can
work
join
session.
us at personnel then.
Okay.
We were hoping that, get everybody's input on it,
Right.
because we've been beating this down the trail for some time, trying to figure out where it should go and where's the smartest place for it to go to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we got solid waste credit account policy.
Hi, this is this is Chris McCon. Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, we can, Chris.
Okay, thank you. So we have a current credit policy where residents or businesses that do work with the solid waste department can receive a monthly bill. So if they were to come in, 7 times, let's say, to the facility in a given month, they wouldn't have to pay any of those cash on hand, but would get an invoice at the end of the month, and it would be due generally in 30 days. For a variety of reasons, we were interested in making that relationship more clear. And so we have a draft policy that was prepared by Pemberton. And it's already been used in Ottertail County, and we're in the process of sharing it with Wadena County. And in the packet, it would be the last page of what we had given to Jolene. And just some basic points here. Within this relationship, we're clarifying a lot of things that we already do. The draft policy is that we charge 1.5% per month for late fees. The businesses can already use other methods of payment like check or credit card. But we have added some things to strengthen the protection for the county. Like it says in here that if a business wants to have a credit, there either needs to be a personal guarantee or a deposit. When we originally drafted this, we talked to several businesses, and they said this is common requirements that they have to have something like this. And a lot of what it's doing is protecting the county from businesses that are not actually located in the county. You know, if there's a business in the county that we do work with and they don't pay, the county has leverage to, you know, put the unpaid costs on their real estate taxes. But when a company comes up to do a project out of Minneapolis, and they don't pay, then it's harder to collect. So some of these terms help with that. So having prepared this, we reviewed it with the Solid Waste Committee. And then, excuse me, we also reviewed it with Auditor Gata and also Attorney Lindeman. And we've made some minor edits. One is that this is only available for commercial businesses. Another one is that we had a insufficient fund fee of $30, which the county uses, but instead of that, we've revised it to just cite it's the insufficient fund fee is established by the county, so that it would always be updated and doesn't need annual updates. So having said all that, I'll maybe just open the floor up, Chair, for you or anyone who has questions on this.
Okay, commissioners, questions?
My question, this agreement, a policy would say they have to have a personal guarantee and a deposit, or one or the other?
One or the other.
So on a personal guarantee, if somebody goes belly up, we're gonna be behind every bank that they owe hundreds of thousands of dollars to if it's a big hauler or someone like that. Is that true or not? I mean, I would think we'd be in a very weak position as far as collecting debt. I mean, if you're owed $250, $300, $400, $500 and they got a loan out to a bank for $200,000, we won't see that money.
I would agree with you, and I'm not really savvy on that, but I think it comes to, like, there's seniority of loans. So, you know, when a business, you know, has debt, if there's $600 out there that they owe us, we're not going to get that. And I think the best I can say to you is, excuse me, I think this is much improved from what we had before, because if I understand it correctly, what we had before was someone filled out a form and they didn't even need to sign it. They just put their name and address on it, and there was no statement that they're agreeing to our terms. So I guess when people go bankrupt, everyone or lots of people lose except for the most senior bank, and they probably lose too, but at least we're moving in the right direction.
Okay. I guess I'd ask Denise, have you guys reviewed this? I know we've had a meeting about this, and he brought it to policy also, so.
Yes, we've reviewed this, and as Chris said, we reviewed it even with county attorney. Other counties using it, Otter Tail's using it. It looked fine to us, so I think it's a good safety net for us too. We've had other outstanding accounts that have hung over our heads for some time, so this is a way to eliminate that.
And I think the one thing too, that what we're trying to really accomplish also is do away with those small-time users of those accounts that we had a hard time drawing from them. So this thing is, you know, it's creating a higher level of protection for us, and mostly just relying on the commercial people to use this and do away with personal accounts, because that's where we had a lot of faults in the past. And just the terminology of the contract itself gives us a little more strength.
Just out of curiosity, why did you do away with that $30 fee for insufficient checks?
So we're not removing it, we're just changing the wording on it, and maybe Auditor Gaito would explain it better, but let's just say in 3 or 4 years, the county decides that they want to charge $40 for insufficient checks. Instead of having every department have a fee specified in their department policies, we just instead referred that we're going to do what the auditor says. And then, you know, when the auditor ups it, we don't have to revise the language in our contract. Is that a fair answer?
Yes, it is. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions, commissioners?
I'm curious, how many, like, what would your estimate be of how many users would have this, do this? I mean, it sounds like it may be a tool to eliminate the individual accounts that are doing this versus how many commercial or whatever account do we think that might affect?
It's kind of hard to say. I think, right now we're running probably somewhere around 40 commercial accounts. So it's significant. The demo industry is, the contractor accounts still are very viable, and that's the ones that use it the most. Of course, you got Long Prairie Sanitary and the bigger ones, wasteland management, aren't really concerned about for the most part, but, doing away with some of them smaller ones and raising our deposits and that kind of thing has really deterred some of them small vendors from using it. So.
Okay. So the next step with this is to bring it to board for approval, is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yep.
Okay, so do you want to bring it to that September, what's the first meeting in September? Yeah, be September 3rd?
That would be correct.
Okay.
That'd be great, thank you.
Can we require they do both a personal guarantee and a deposit? Because I mean, again, a personal guarantee is going to be their word.
My understanding of what the personal guarantee, as we've talked about it with the attorney, is that it actually means that they're, like, for an example, and I'm making an exaggerated case, but if you have someone that owns an LLC and that LLC has a lot of debt and that owner moves all of his cash into his personal name, so he's got a really big house on a really big lot on Lake Osakis, and his or her situation at home is that they have a tremendous amount of cash, but they've done that by making their business operate basically on a great level of debt. Then when they default on their account, literally let's say they owe us $100,000, then what we're doing is preparing ourselves for that debt collection process, and we can go to court with them, and we have the right, because they've signed and admitted to this, that their personal property then would be on the table for discussion.
With that being said, do you have a max amount that they can put on this account?
We don't, and we've looked at that several ways. We have small business owners that probably never do more than $20,000, probably never do more than $10,000. But then, if you look, Long Prairie Sanitation is our largest licensed hauler, and they probably do, I don't know, but excuse me, like they probably have $30,000 a month every month because they do such a large tonnage. And we want them to have that. It's to make them run successfully in Todd County.
So how many months, if I read this right, they have to be paid up every month?
They do. If they were a month late, we'll charge them interest. But as soon as 60 days, we're watching these bills, and, what we're trying to do is give ourselves freedom that if in 60 days someone hasn't paid, we have the right to freeze that account and say, well, from now on, until you pay, you need to bring cash or a check and pay on delivery, or pay, like will call, where that you can't leave here unless you've paid.
Okay. Any other questions? Are we ready to see it at the September meeting then? I'm getting a lot of head shakes, yes, so we will put it on the September 3rd meeting then. So if
Okay, thank you.
got any questions, I'll have to get in contact with you guys.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And the next is transfer station construction update.
Yes, and if Jackie, you got some pictures for us, we can do a quick review.
Yes, okay. Okay, well, we'll
Things are
see.
moving right along. The delivery of our rebar has been on time, and the scheduling of that has been much better than it has been in the past. They currently are really spending a lot of time forming up the walls for the transfer station. Currently, they are in the process of building the tipping floor walls and the south loading dock or the southwest loading dock station area, getting that stabilized and ready to pour. So things are moving along well. They've backfilled all the footings for all the buildings. The 6 courses of block for the office and scale house is done. They're core filling the blocks today. So within the next 3 weeks, we anticipate them to start and finishing the plumbing, the septics, the underground for all the office and the transfer station buildings themselves. So that part of it is going pretty well. So they're moving right along. Like you say, now it's nice to see more and more development continually happening on that size of it. So otherwise, just
And
everything's going.
business is pretty much flowing as normal?
Yep. So it's nice to see all the footings getting done and the backfilling. So the office scale house should be backfilled and completed by the end of the week. Like I said, they're core filling the blocks today. So we're just busy staying at it and just kind of moving forward with every step. So the next thing is the underground water and the septic systems will be installed the next 3 weeks. I would anticipate somewhere in that time frame. And then they'll start doing flooring, pouring floors. So working on pillar supports on the transfer station and the HHW end of it too. So there's a lot of moving parts right now. So, but everything is moving well.
Okay. Did we
All
get
right.
pictures or not?
I can show you. Can I just hit the click share to get out of this?
Yeah, do you want? She wants, I just sent her
Oh.
an email with a picture.
Okay.
Otherwise.
No, I'll go there. I just don't like to bring my public email up on, but she says it won't show, so we're good. No, I haven't. Okay.
You can send it to us an email as well. Just forward it along if you can.
Yeah, we're good.
Instead of holding it up.
Yeah, I get a lot of projects going on.
My computer won't show. See, the problem is he's on Zoom, so she's got to. Take that off, take this off. There we go, got it.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so the picture you see before you is the office scale house. And you can see the block being installed. So the rows of blocking are completed, so they will start core filling that today as I speak. And then, like I said, then they'll start tying in the septic and the underground water. The electricals run already, so that's kind of the office scale house facility. The next picture, if you can scroll.
I don't have any more.
On the right, Denise, if you grab the bar on your email there.
Oh, you have them all in one, sorry. Oh, that's upside down.
That one's upside down. But that's the transfer station, one of the walls, and you can see the rebar coming out, and that's where they'll start forming the walls along that section. Some of them haven't transferred.
Oh.
That one's upside down as well. So that is actually the drive down into where that's the subfloor, where it's 24-foot walls is what they'll be pouring. So you'll see the first 12-foot of walls is where the plywood is enclosed, and you see the other 12 feet of rebar sticking up. They're still finalizing that. So, and that's where our trucks will drive underneath. And that's just a picture of the one sides of it. You can see the footings are all backfilled and everything's leveled. So they'll continue to build structure for wall pouring, so. All right.
Okay, very good.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next we have family childcare licensing service.
Good morning again. We have Alyssa. Good morning. And Michelle here from Sourcewell to kind of go through what was a request to have, just to provide an update regarding the childcare services that we contract through Sourcewell for. So kindly, they have agreed to come, and we have a member in the audience also that is here to listen also. So I am glad you can be here as well, but go ahead, Michelle.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Michelle Taugis. I'm the Director of Regional Licensing. We've had this partnership with Todd County since July 1st of 2018 for family child care licensing services. We also partner with you for our adult foster care licensing, and I oversee that program as well. And I believe we started those services in July 1st of 2019. So we've had this partnership for now 6 years, this July, and Alyssa Erdrich is your regional licensing specialist for Todd County. So we regulate the programs that are family child care licensing, so not your center-based licensing, but just your family child care. So in this slide, these are just some of the delegated duties that we do with our partnership and we oversee in this role as your regional licensing specialist, also known as the licensor. And so family child care is a delegated service. So DHS actually oversees licensing and delegates the counties to carry out the duties of family child care licensing. And then we partner, well, the Todd County partners with Sourcewell to carry out the duties. So again, we are doing the annual inspections, making sure they're ensuring compliance with all the federal and state regulations. Again, building relationships with all the partners, with agencies, with DHS, and with the county. We have regular communication with someone at the county level with any type of licensing recommendations, variance requests, or anything that we would need county attorney support and or county support as well with any type of licensing recommendation that's going to DHS. Also, as the regional licensing specialist, we have a caseload of 160. So Alyssa oversees 3 counties. So with our partnership, we partner with 8 counties for family child care licensing at Sourcewell. So of the 8 counties, Alyssa's caseload oversees Todd, Morrison, and Wadena County. And again, we try to keep our caseload at around 160. Which is again a little higher than comparable to other counties, but with this regional model, we're able to have a little bit of a higher caseload. And then I'm gonna let Alyssa talk about some of the family child care programs in Todd County.
So currently we have 37 licensed programs. Last year, we had 6 new providers and 2 closed. This year, we've had 2 open and 2 closed, so still working on getting some more people licensed. I think I have 3 people in application right now. And DHS maintains a list of the current licensed providers on their website. Regarding closures, Sourcewell has a child exit survey we send out when a provider is leaving the field to address any trends that we see rising. We have created a resource based off of those responses. Some of the biggest challenges noted were parents and guardians not respecting the provider's policies and the frequent changes made to regulations. Top reasons for closure were retirement and career change. We typically see where a parent wants to raise their own child, so they'll stay until that child reaches school age, and then sometimes they'll go back into the workforce to a different position that they had prior. And I do have that flyer too, if you would want to take a look at it to see what the common responses were we got. Also, Sourcewell has, let's see, yes, and this will just kind of cover the different things with addressing the need and what we're trying to do to make that better. We've been looking into, it's a new trend with having providers provide care somewhere outside of their own home. We call it a special family child care application. We've entertained ideas of commercial spaces, churches, and remodeling outbuildings. I haven't had any requests in Todd County yet, but we're definitely open to checking out those different spaces to see if we can make them work for childcare. And then for the next slide, I think, Michelle?
Yeah, so some of our recruitment and retain strategies, again, orientation. We have a pretty seamless process of orientating new applicants from start to finish. We have a self-paced orientation that they would get within 12 hours of submitting the inquiry so that we can get them licensed as soon as possible. Again, we have the perimeter of having them licensed between 30 and 90 days. There are some items that are out of control. So again, we do get inquiries often, and try to get them licensed as soon as possible. We have a mentorship for new programs. We implemented an additional 6-month visit for all our new providers. That DHS does not require that. But again, just that mentorship for our new providers in the field, it's a lot of information, regulations that they have to comply with. So we want to be there as a support for them throughout this process. And then also, within the last 2 years, DHS has implemented a new program called Wayfinders, Navigators. And again, this is just another mentorship for our new and existing programs to lean on and partner with to help them and guide them being successful business owners as a family child care provider. So again, we really lean on our Wayfinder Navigators to help with the recruitment efforts in all the counties that we partner with. We have a very close relationship with our Wayfinder Navigators to see if there is a need in a certain area, what kind of recruitment strategies we could do to recruit, and that if there's like a certain desert area where we need some new programs, if we've seen a reduction in providers closing. Appreciation, we have a annual conference. We'll be having our annual conference on September 28th. It's a virtual conference. It's low cost for them to get the professional development and learn about all the new regulations or new information coming their way or coming down the pike in regards to family child care licensing. And then also at the training, we announced Provider of the Year. And I'll let Alyssa share who your 2023 Provider of the Year was. And we have not announced yet the 2024 yet. We will do that at the conference.
So last August, we celebrated Jessica Bauk out of Clarissa for becoming the Provider of the Year. We are currently in the selection process for 2024, and we'll be announcing that at our conference here in September. The provider is given a nice plaque that states that they're the Provider of the Year for the county for that year, and then they receive a gift from Mojave Atwa as well, which is the Wayfinder Navigator that presents that to them. We also, so besides working closely with the Wayfinder Navigator, we also work closely with Empower to Educate to help providers get the trainings they need at low cost or no fee at all. First Children's Finance helps them also with their business planning and figuring out their rates for the area that they're in. Michelle and I are involved in several work groups, associations, and committees to continue working on addressing the child care shortage and ensure our providers have valuable resources. I'm currently a member of the Family Child Care Resource Network, a director at large on the Association of Minnesota Family Child Care Licensor Board, and through these roles, I'm able to better advocate for our providers as well.
All right, so I'm sure all of you are hearing all the legislative updates coming down the pike for family child care. Again, there's legislative changes for family child care and center-based, and we're just focusing on the family child care. And so some of the upcoming changes is what they're looking at the modernization of regulations. So with that, there's a lot that encompasses with that. We are looking at, they're implementing a provider and agency hub, which everything will be online for providers and the county. So it's just one big file system that will house everything for family child care licensing. So they will house all of our Rule 13 requirements that the county has to comply with that we're going through as of right now for Todd County. And so this will just really streamline across the 87 counties that every process for submitting new applications and the annual requirements will be the same through this provider hub, and hopefully that will be implemented this fall. We do not have a date with that yet. And then also the tiered violation system that will be coming down the pike. Some of the other modernization projects is the risk-based tiered violation system, and probably what you've been hearing the most are the revised licensing standards. We have just went through phase 2 of looking at the revised licensing standards proposal that NARA submitted. And so we've been a part of many listening sessions, completed surveys, providers, any key sectors could complete the survey in regards to these proposed licensing standards. So right now they're compiling all that input and we'll be formulating that, and that will be released, they're saying, in 2026. They did push it out because they heard so much feedback and they wanted to take the time to take that input and really revise that phase 3 proposal for legislators. So that should be coming in 2026. So they did push that out a year, which was a good decision on their part to keep some of our providers that were very nervous in regards to that proposal, that they're taking the time to actually look at all the input and the feedback they received to make those revisions. Another thing is the continuous license. This again will mimic what center-based licensing does. So they're gonna have a continuous license. So every provider will be on this same cycle, a January 1st to December 31st license. And so again, we're just gonna, right now they have a certain license anniversary date based on when they were started. So that is their anniversary date. And so we have to complete their annual visit by that date. But come January 1st of 2025, everybody will be on that same cycle. So we'll just spread out our visits accordingly so that we're seeing each program in each season. And then the new Department of Children, Youth, and Families will be implemented in July 1st of 2026, I believe, once they transfer family child care licensing from DHS to this new department.
All right, for legislative changes for 2024, new laws that were passed that affect family child care are funding to assist providers in obtaining their child development associate's degree, to continue the ombudsperson position to assist providers, child care facility improvement grants, and funding for early learning scholarships. Increased access to farm to school programs and funding for Women Venture to continue their work to increase the child care slots. And then also providers having the option to create their own immunization policy if they choose to not enroll unvaccinated children with non-medical exemptions. CPR and first aid previously had to be taken by its expiration date, which was the 2-year time frame. Now they have an additional 90 days past that to finish their training. Child care providers' email addresses will be considered public information as of January 1st this next year. Currently, child care providers have the option to become star rated through Child Care Aware. Starting July 1st of 2026, providers will all start with a 1-star rating unless they opt out. I didn't have room on this slide, but the final update is owners or occupants of homes that are part of the homeowners association cannot be prohibited from operating a child care out of their home. All right. Any questions?
Questions? Bob, questions?
So we do have some closures going on and with Trinity Lutheran that we're trying to help, or at least we're trying to understand it and try to keep them open for longer. Do these since these new requirements have been pushed back another year, will that help their ability, you think?
I just learned they were closing this morning as we were sitting in here. So.
What's that?
You told us the other day, Bob, they were.
Yeah, they sent a letter out to all their families, like 40 kids will be looking by December. They hope to keep it open through Christmas, but I'm hearing that that's probably not gonna happen.
So we do not regulate Trinity. That is done by Department of Human Services, all center-based. But again, those licensing standards that they have to comply with, that is being pushed out along with the family child care licensing standards, so that shouldn't affect it. But I don't have too much knowledge regarding Trinity, being it's fairly recent that they published this, but maybe Alyssa can kind of share of some ideas that we can help potentially recruit.
The other thing is I don't know exactly who, but I'd heard possibly 2 in-homes also will be closing in Long Prairie.
2, I'm sorry?
In-homes?
2 family.
I did have somebody that just recently moved to Alexandria, so they opened a provider or a location there, but it's on the Douglas side of, oh wait, I get Alexandria would be all in Douglas, yep. And then I had another one that she decided to leave for various reasons. I think it was because her kids had aged out and she was ready to go back into her current position as a nurse.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I got a question. You think the state of Minnesota is over-regulating daycare, childcare?
That's a great question. All these regulations, they're there for a reason. Something happened, and so that is why it's a rule or statute that now family child care licensing has to comply with, any business owner. So again, in this new licensing standard proposal, Were there some things that maybe were a little overregulated potentially? Yes, or again, it's about interpretation. So our hope, based on all this input from all key sectors that completed the questionnaires, the public sessions, and any other focus group opportunities, that DHS and NARA are hearing this and that they're making the appropriate modifications to those proposals so that we keep and retain what we have today for family child care licensing, and also maybe recruit some new providers. But again, are they overregulated? That's, anybody's can interpret that how they want to take it. But again, our job is to make paperwork and everything that has to do with the licensing component as easy as possible. That's our number one mission, so that they can care for those kiddos and provide the supervision that is needed for when they have 10 children in their program that operate at a full caseload. So again, that's always our number one mission, is taking those regulations, building the resources that we can for our providers so that they can maintain compliance, so that they can really allocate all their time to caring for those kiddos for the health and safety of those children.
It's also been a wonderful addition to have the Wayfinder and Empower to Educate and First Children's Finance, because we're able to completely kind of a full wraparound for that provider. If they need help in any sector, we've got it pretty much covered. So then their answers are getting taken care of right away, or their questions are being taken care of right away.
So to do a follow-up on the regulations, at our AMC district meeting, we were told that if there was a bug found in a daycare, that they would have to go in and shut it down, and then they fumigate it and then open back up. Is that true?
No, it's all about interpretation. Was there a thing about bugs? Yes. But again, they're taking the input that they received and hopefully making some modifications so that the interpretation of what the rules and statute proposal is, it's more black and white, and they can have bugs.
And I think, in regards to that, Commissioner Newman, they have found some in-home daycares were much more cleanly than maybe others. So they incorporated regulations to ensure that all of them, 100% of them, are as cleanly as the other. I do have to commend Michelle and Alyssa on Sourcewell overall, because I think this model was new to DHS. As 87 counties managed this program within at a point, for us at that time was less than a 0.2. So they've taken this service line and they've really did a good job and marketed and promoted online education, but also the ease with the regulations and applications in supporting the providers. So I want to thank you for that. And I think some of these new online education that with the hub that has been provided is has to do with the success that we've had here locally through Sourcewell, that they have found that it can be done better than it had been. So yeah, nice job. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
I just got a question. Do you see the people getting into childcare or daycare? Do you see that number still rising for people wanting to get into it? Are you seeing it more going into, like an old church, a school, instead of, I guess, out of home instead of in home?
Yes, it's a great question. So we are fortunate in the 8 counties that we partner with for our licensing service. We have maintained or increased a little bit across the 8 counties. Are we seeing a different trend? Yes. We're seeing a trend where providers are not staying in the field for 20, 30 years. They're maybe staying in the field for 5 to 8 years is kind of what we're seeing that trend in. They're getting them through those younger years where they can't find childcare, so they're like, I'm gonna go in the field and work in the field for 5 years and then get out. So we're definitely seeing that trend. And then also providers operating outside of the non-residential home. So in that special application like we talked about, we're seeing a huge increase of those type of special applications being submitted. And again, I'm gonna be honest, there are some counties that don't have the capacity to even entertain those special applications because they just don't have the time to help them navigate the process of to get licensed through a church, through a school, through an outbuilding. So we have really defined our process of doing that, created a special application folder that if we have a community member that says, I want to open up a childcare in my space, we can give them that folder. They can kind of navigate what they need to do, working with local zoning and what they might need to do and to maintain compliance, and then come to us and say, okay, I think I'm ready and I would like to pursue this opportunity for a special application within my church or whatever the building is. So we're definitely seeing the trend shift into that special application model.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank
to
you.
present, yep.
I think next we have the opioid community. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm getting it. This has kind of been a mess today with getting.
I do have paper copies as well.
It's up, I have it.
Oh, great. Does anyone want a paper copy?
Yeah, I like paper.
Yep, I'm the same way. Okay, so what we did after our last meeting was we looked at not revamping totally, but kind of streamlining our process for taking RFPs, requests for proposals, as part of the opioid disbursement of funds. We keep getting a rolling amount of money coming in, and we wanted to make sure that we had an orderly process for how to address this, not just with the community to get ideas out and not just internal stuff, but to be able to present it to you guys in an orderly process. One, for approval ahead of time, and two, just so that as this happens year after year, that we're able to see that progress, the impact that you guys' decisions are making. So what we did is we kind of did an audit of a few different counties' applications. We looked at Morrison County, Horizon, let's see here, Becker County, as well as St. Louis County. And we just kind of pulled elements from each of those and compared it to ours. So what we did is what we have here is kind of the run sheet for it, and then we just had some appendices for things that we're gonna ask them to have with. The couple things to note is the timeline on page 1 under application guidelines. We'll begin accepting applications October 1st, 2024 is the idea. And you know, we had to talk about this. There's a lot of ways that we can do this, but ultimately we want to get started doing it sooner rather than later. And so we thought this is at a good point to put this in front of you, and we're going to keep the window open until the end of the year. And then the idea would be that we would probably spend about a month's time kind of reviewing projects internally and then submit them to you guys for approval at the beginning of the year. They would have a year of funding. We talked about doing extension timelines. And then one of the things that we need you guys to decide at the next meeting is the total funding allocated for 2025. So, you know, we talked about this when we were here before, is that we don't want to just give all the money away at the first showing. And there might be good ideas, there might be bad ideas, but just giving it all away right away doesn't seem like the move necessarily. So if you guys want to discuss and figure out what portion we want to hold back, Catherine, you talked about, you're going to talk about numbers here in a second, and then we also talked about having some for internal stuff that we're programming that we're implementing to address these issues and for education, and then also making sure to earmark a certain section of it for projects outside of it, so that we're able to show the community that we're investing this money back into the community and partnering with folks from there to meet those needs. So that's pretty much it. Do you have some
Yeah, I
stuff
just
to talk about?
wanted to give an update on the finances so you're well informed. I really want to thank Chris too, because it's been great to have a partner in this, and I think it's worked really well. to have the county attorney's office as well involved, because I think an RFP process is not something we typically do at a county, right? I know we've done some mini awards here and there, but this is, a new idea for the county, and I think it's a great way for us to make sure we're being equitable with who's applying, right? Right now, this sort of rolling enrollment doesn't allow us to really advertise and promote that we have an RFP process, and I think that will be really great. So as of today, we did receive a number of funds in July, and I believe we've received all the funds for 2024 so far, so this is a good number. We have $420,000. We are required to set aside 7% for the backstop fund. That is a fund if we were to have additional litigation, things like that, we need to set aside 7%, which is about $32,000. We then have about $91,000 remaining in obligations to our current funded projects that you've already awarded. So after all of that, we have about $296,000 that is available in our funds right now for 2024 into 25. Of course, we're expected to get about another $130,000 in 2025, but we feel like that's a good number to work with. So $300,000 that we have at this time available.
And so something to think about is and that we were looking at is potentially breaking up the funding into two portions as they're doing this application process, not necessarily front loading them with all of the money, but kind of having it be, you're fine. Kind of having it be a follow through, because we're requiring them to come and make a presentation at the end of this and show how these funds have impacted our county in a positive way. And so requiring them to do that on the back end and saying, hey, you guys probably want to put up some of your own money as well and don't rely on us for all the money up front, kind of helps the partnership be more, it gives it more steps for us to work with them instead of us just handing someone a check and letting them run off to go do their thing. This is something that we want to build partnerships year over year to help with. And some of this may be funding that they ask for multiple years, but ideally this could be something that could seed people and put them in a position to provide services to our county that aren't necessarily generated from just these funds. And so then the final part of it was just that looking and seeing what they have for matching funds. That was something that we looked at in this process. So when we were asking them to provide a budget and to say kind of, oh, what are you guys putting on the table too? And that's good for a couple reasons. It's not to say that if they need more money from us than necessarily they're getting from other funding places, that it's a bad thing. But that may be something that we want to consider if there's an organization that has a bunch of funding from other things and we're just a drop in the hat. Is that a good use of our funds? Or is it if there's someone who wants to do something just for our community, but they don't necessarily have open funding from other sources available? So that was our idea there. And then I'm pretty sure that's it. So unless you guys have any other questions or anything for right now, yeah, we appreciate your opportunity to work on this and to help make an impact.
This looks really good.
Very, very excited to see this. I really appreciate it. And there's more to it, but we tried to keep it succinct for you so you could see. So there's sort of 3 areas we need some discussion on, right? Is sort of that timeline, right? So like Chris and I proposed, we think it's feasible. We could roll it out October 1 and then leave it open for 2 months. I think that's a good idea. So that's on the bottom of page 1. And then like Chris discussed, we take about a month with the advisory council to review the applications. We'll have scoring criteria. And then we would present to the board probably in February would be the plan. And then the funding awards. So I tentatively put in $1,000 to $50,000. I think we have to understand smaller awards, while they're nice, I don't think we want to, really worry about funding $500 requests here and there, right? That's not really worth the time, or even this application process. So I put 1,000. I was thinking closer to 5,000 because I just don't think they should have to go through this process for a small award, right? And that's not what this is for. We do want impact, right? And what can you do with $1,000? We've seen Candace do a lot of work with 5,000. So that's a discussion item. And then the total fund amount, again, that we would want to put into this RFP.
We had some discussion, do the schools or other schools have availability to these funds for lyceums or programs at the school level?
When we talked about this and what organizations to have be available, and it's pretty open-ended. And that was kind of the idea, is that there is a hierarchy of purposes that are intended, and it also has a caveat on there that says that this is not meant to be exhaustive. So if there are innovative things that they're looking at doing, one, because it's an organization, not just a private individual, yes, they would be potentially eligible. And two, it's money that's for our community. So yes, it would be, but again, it just because we might say no to one thing they want to do one year doesn't mean that we're saying no to anything or trying to stifle innovation. It's just a budgeting process, and you guys understand that you have to make hard choices there. So one of the things that we look at is the amount of money and the amount of impact that it would have. So if we're talking about spending $10,000 so that 5 people can go to something for a weekend, versus $5,000 to have an impact on a larger section or segment of our community, you have to look at those things as we go through. But those are decisions that you guys will make. We're not trying to cut people off from this. We did have to say not private people, because I think there's a degree of you want it to be accountable. We don't want a St. Cloud situation where we end up handing away money to people. We want to be accountable for it. But then the one thing that we change, and that may be a bigger change, is that it's this time around we're looking for people that are providing services to the county, not just people that are here in the county. Ideally, it would be great if this could be a funding source that helps draw people and anchor new businesses here. That would be fantastic. But a lot of this is highly specialized services, and the reality is that some of it may be based out of somewhere else, but providing services here. And so this time around, where we are opening it up to people that provide services here that may not be located within the county, and the idea being that at the end of the day, we're focused on wanting to provide these services. If we can keep them local and fund them here and have it start here, great. But at the end of the day, we really need to provide services.
Very good. Commissioners, questions?
So would you be looking for input from us for this is the amount we're gonna award each year?
Just
Are you
for
gonna bring that to us?
2025. I think today,
And then
we'd probably bring the full RFP for approval to the board.
Yep.
I mean, if you're gonna have, if my math rate,
Yeah.
roughly, by this time next year, you'll have about 426,000, right? 296.
I wouldn't assume
put that in
those
the
dollars.
bank?
I would focus on the 296 that
96.
we have,
Yeah.
because the dollars have come in strangely
Okay,
at
so,
times.
So
We'd
what of
be
the
able to figure-
296 are you guys okay with us, keeping, offering up as this year's thing?
Right, and again, if we receive more, then we have to make those hard decisions. If we receive less, then of course we can fund as many projects as we want. Or if, let's say, we get projects that are $50,000 and we only have 100,000, we would look at, maybe saying, well, we're able to provide this amount,
So the amount of the award, so the amount we would award each year could really be a moving target based upon revenue.
These dollars are
and
front-loaded, but
applicants and-
by 2038, we'll be receiving maybe, 20, 30, 40,000 a year, so. And I think, again, like Chris has alluded to, this could be something where we do fund a project for several years to get it going, right? And see some sustainability. So I think that's a good thing to maybe invest more now as we move forward.
And the idea of bringing in potential business or adding to an existing business already in town that may have to increase staffing because of the workload that they're doing would be great. I mean, be another full-time employee that they'd be hired, and so, good work.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you for your hard work on this.
Yeah. This looks good.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank
And
you.
then, yeah, we'll have the full thing to you guys a few days ahead of time for the next one, and you guys can look through the whole stuff if you have questions.
Absolutely. We're going to take just a real quick break here for a second.
the source water come from.
Started? Oh, I don't know if it'll take the whole 5. You just gotta use. You'll be right back. Yeah.
No, it's just me.
What else do we have coming up? This has just been such a mess. People have got to get their stuff to the clerk before. You know what I mean? Because I think just getting stuff after.
Like the.
I just have to get to the right stuff.
Okay, Adam. Where did,
Didn't see him. Oh, Mike Allen, but.
where did Lou go?
I have no idea.
I didn't cross his path.
You did.
Just Mike.
I don't know, where did Lou go?
Isn't he just back there?
Okay, Adam, go
ready?
ahead then. Yep.
Okay, so we have the methane digester application up for discussion here this morning, just to, I guess the goal would be to just hear any comments, concerns, questions that the board may have. We're all in attendance at the meeting and saw it firsthand. Before we get too far, I wanted to note that Mark Hill, who is the gentleman that was presenting on behalf of the digester, is available by phone. If we wanted to dial him in at all at any point, just let me know and Lisa can help me get him through the system here. So he is available for a phone call. On the sheet I handed out and then on the screen also are the conditions that I had proposed at the Planning Commission meeting. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all as presented at the meeting. Number 4, the area that I have highlighted was something that I may propose, and I'm open to feedback on it, to edit that one, that the on-site review, or the on-site review with the local safety personnel be done after the digester is actually constructed. The point was made that it really makes more sense to do it then when they can see it, walk through it, know what they're working with. So just to amend that rather than doing it before we issue the permits, that it be done prior to the start of operation. And then one of our planning commission members brought up that a condition should be added that there be an annual review of that also. So that's the addition of number 5 there. So that's where we're at with our conversation on proposed conditions. I just noted a few of the comments that we had received from the public during the meeting. These are not all-inclusive or everything that was stated. It was just some of the highlights that I had taken notes of along the way here. As you know, there is a citizen petition for an EAW on the application at this time, so that's why we're having this conversation here at a work session, because the county board cannot make a decision until we have an answer back on that. So as we wait, we wanted to continue the discussion on the application because we can do the concurrent review of it. The next steps with this, we do have a notice for the September 5th Planning Commission hearing. It's gonna, a little bit's gonna be dependent on if we get a response from MPCA by then, but if the MPCA comes back and says that they're not going to require the AW, we'll have the 60 days from the date we get that notice. if that EAW is going to be required, we're looking down the road here for a decision because that EAW will have to be produced or completed, reviewed, and then we'll have 60 days from the end of that to make a decision. So we're waiting to kind of know what our timeline is at this point in time. But for now, I just wanted to hear any comments or concerns, questions. I can take those back to the September 5th Planning Commission meeting. We continue the review. But that's just the brief update. And again, I just provide the opportunity for discussion here.
Okay, Commissioner.
I'm just gonna let commissioners know I've got a call into Mark Hill at North Star RNG to try to schedule a time to get to one of his facilities that it's up in operation. So I haven't heard back from him yet, but as soon as I do, if anybody wants to join me, they can, well, one or two you want to join me, or one of you want to join me, that's fine. These open law meetings, but as soon as I hear back, I'll let you know and
Okay,
update everybody.
yeah. Other questions?
Mine would be the pipeline, since that follows under public utilities ordinances. I would like to see an agreement with the public utilities wherever the pipeline's going for the location and signed liability from them.
If I can ask for clarification, you're looking to see that agreement where it's going live before this board would make their decision?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
And liability.
I got probably an interesting question, but they talk about green credits. Can you explain that to me?
I cannot explain that very well offhand, but there's a lot of information out there on that, and it's something I could look into and maybe even get some commentary from maybe the agencies that implement those green credits, because that they would have far more and better knowledge than I have of it.
Okay.
But I will make a note of that, and again, all of this I think is appropriate to bring it back to the Planning Commission and have those discussions so it's on the record for the decision and stuff. So
The other thing is, when they talked about spreading of the manure application, they said it was lot more strong. So does the Soil and Water monitor the manure application to the land, or how does that get monitored?
Sure, that's actually monitored by the MPCA because this is an NPDS site. So when that manure comes out of the digester, they're gonna take samples of it.
Okay.
And the application will be based on the analysis of that manure before it's applied, right? So if the concentration of nutrients in that manure is now greater, because the nutrient value, well, the nutrients stayed in there, but there's less volume, right? So your concentration's higher, you have less application. Your rate reduces across the landscape because there is still a maximum amount of manure based on nutrient value that the farm can apply.
Right.
Yep, and that's all identified upfront in the manure management plan, but then they keep records of their application showing what was actually done then and supply those to the MPCA.
Okay, Hollerman's manure is being hauled there. Is that being hauled in liquid form or solid form?
That's all liquid, right? Yeah, all liquid. I don't think the
Between that
digester.
meeting, it was very kind of confusing because he was going to haul in a load and then haul back a load, and it's like, well, if he's bringing liquid, how is he going to take solid back? Or is he taking liquid back?
It's taking the
He's taking
digestate.
liquid back.
Yep. Yeah, it'll go through the digester, and then it's that digestate, I think they refer to it as, which is liquid, has solids in it.
Okay.
Is brought back to Hollerman Dairy.
And then he would have to spread it immediately or have some means of spreading it?
Or it goes-
put it back in the lagoon,
Right.
correct?
And then they can store it until spring, fall, whatever their application schedule is.
And Hollerman's have got a certified or whatever
Right.
lagoon.
Yep, and
Yeah.
then, so there, it's really kind of a temporary transfer of ownership of that manure, but it goes back to the original owner, and then they need to apply that based on MPCA standards. Now, Hollerman's site is, I don't believe, to the NPDS level, so that is inspected and reviewed by the county, because it's less than 1,000, but the same rules apply with those application rates and such.
Okay.
May I speak?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come up here.
All the manure going into this digester
really comes off the floor of the barn before it goes into their own manure pit. It'll be brought to the digester and then run through the digester for 40 days. And before it goes into my pit, it'll either go into their truck or mine will stay in my,
Your pit, yeah.
and then he will, in my pit, he will in turn take his back and then put it in the pit. So the only manure in his pit will be post-digest date.
Okay. Interesting. My other question is, from Timmer Farms, you're going to pipe that manure from Timmer Farm, is that in a liquid, I would presume, state?
The proposed pipe from the Timbers to the dairy is just a thought. We're getting a bid. It'll certainly start out in a truck. And that's
Okay.
dry cows. So that's not nearly as liquid, but it'll still, but it'll be less, dry cows produce or eat a lot less and a lot more roughage, more straw, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
So-
less protein in them.
So a dry cow doesn't produce nearly the amount of methane that a milking cow that was on a high carbohydrate diet would.
Okay. One more question. A person in the audience that night compared it to a pressure cooker, and it's really not comparable to a pressure cooker, correct? Because
That's my understanding also, is that the pressure inside of that digester is very minimal. I can't remember how he described it, but the other piece of that you have to remember is that there's not the other components that you need there to make an explosion, right? There's no spark and there's no oxygen.
Right.
He referred to it as 6 inches of water pressure.
Yeah.
That's the amount of pressure.
Yeah.
Than 1 PSI,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I thought the guy who put the program on for us the other night or for the soil and water was very educational. I thought he did a good job of presenting. And I too would love to go in and actually see how it works and, I mean.
This is a lot different than the one that we saw in Morris, Minnesota. You know,
Yeah.
that by amps, that's a different scale, whole different structure and everything. So it was good to go to see that and get educated. So, this will be, keeping the loop.
Interesting.
So I have one question. So Adam, this conditional use permit, the original Dairy Ridge conditional use permit, this biodigester will be attached to that original CUP. Now, and if it is, they'll assume any conflicts or risks that could cause the permit to be canceled. Okay, so this come from a township in Minnesota that was dealing with the biodigester, okay? So check into that. So Dairy Ridge's original permit.
Okay.
Okay, and that's what they said here. They determined that all they needed to do was amend the conditional use permit granted to this dairy originally to include the digester and assume conflicts of or risks that could cause a permit to be canceled.
Sure. Can you share with me what township or the document you're looking at so I can know what that is and then make sure to answer your questions appropriately then?
This is St. John's Township.
Okay.
And he's a supervisor and the zoning board. They do their own zoning.
What county is that in?
Township,
No.
St. John's.
But what?
Candy
Ohio.
Ohio.
Thank you.
So this cup is by North Star RNG, right?
Yes. And I view these as independent land uses from one another, but to your question, we can verify how those things are interconnected because the land use is on property that the applicant does not own.
That's, and this
Yeah.
one was done by AMPI,
Yep.
okay? So AMPI was the digester company. So I would do some serious research on
Yeah,
that.
we can investigate that.
Okay, any
Okay.
other questions?
No.
Not at this point?
Okay.
Okay, we'll have to wait and kind of see how the process goes. with
Right, and
that.
then we'll wait to hear from MPC and such. Does the board want to have that September 5th meeting posted for attendance again?
Please.
Please?
Please
Okay.
do so.
I'll talk with Julian.
I thought it was very, very interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, we can make that happen.
Very informational, yeah.
Very good.
It looks like we're gonna get invited to go to either Berlin or Maurice, Iowa. Mark just got back to me, so.
Okay.
I don't
I
have
know
dates
he's
yet,
watching live, so.
but, you know.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
okay, thank you,
Thanks, Adam.
thank you. And I think our last thing on the work session is debris on the right-of-way. And as harvest season is coming and so forth, Mike, maybe you should come up. Yeah. Lauren, maybe you want to come up too? Sure. Yeah.
Come on down. Come on down.
We've been getting, as commissioners, a lot of calls and a lot of complaints again.
Okay.
And especially, I have been getting them a lot on 11 and 24. And yesterday afternoon, we actually took a ride, went down 11 from 24 all the way to 210. And you know what? There's a lot of Amish living right by that 210 area. Other than that, I did not really see a lot on the road. I think we see more on 24, actually. And I'm wondering if we can get a board together to maybe go visit the bishops. And at the same token, I don't want to just put it on that, but also as people are coming out of their fields with muddy tires and so forth, and they're leaving unbelievable amount of mud on the roads. It's very dangerous, you know.
Yeah, we could certainly go see whoever you recommend. We could certainly set up a meeting, and I'd be more than
Yeah.
happy to attend. This issue's been raising its head for some time.
Yeah,
I can tell you that if you want to go by road right away, you need debris in the right of way on County Road 47, which runs just south of the Rock Tavern in the southern part of our county. There was a complaint down there a while back, and I drove that road and I found 27 different articles in that 3-mile stretch in road right of way. So if we want to eliminate stuff in the road right of way, that is completely up to anybody how we want to do that. But there's signs, there's all kinds of things that are placed in the road right of way that are not a traffic hazard. We just got to decide how we want to police it and what we want to do. I don't have the resources to pull signs. I just don't. And some of these complaints, although they're valid, I don't know how far we want to go. Is a rummage sale sign a violation? Is a graduation sign a violation? Is a $2 a dozen egg sign a violation? That's up to you folks, how you want to do it. I know down by the southern portion where they have lake lots, and there's people living on cabins, they have the big signs with all the family's names on there. Those are in violation as well, they're in the road right away. Depends on how well you want to police that, and doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
Hearing what I just heard you say, I have no interest in that. Policing every little,
you can't.
are you kidding me? You're gonna get, no.
If you've noticed, since this last storm came in, there's a lot of those,
Yeah, storm chasers.
yeah, those solicitors out
Roof
there.
guys.
They're all over the place. And I certainly know that I don't have the manpower. I don't think Lauren has the manpower to collect those signs and place them in places. And if we're gonna go with just signage, that'd be one thing, but if we go by whatever the debris is, we're gonna be crawling down a rabbit hole that I don't know if we wanna go
And it's
completely
so
down.
hard, how do you tell who did it?
Right. The other issue
Who
we
was
have
it, unless
is,
they're physically there when it happened.
correct, the other issue we have is road right-of-ways buried throughout the county.
Yeah.
And so who determines, Lauren will have a better idea of that than I would. My staff doesn't know what the right-of-way is on some of these small roads in the back.
I mean,
Sylvan Shores area, for example.
Oh, yeah, that's,
I mean, if there's a benefit in having a meeting with whoever is,
The bishops, I
mean,
think that's how we got lights on.
that's probably cool, you know, but I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm just, it seems like overregulation to me. It just seems like we don't have the manpower, we live in America, it's a free, I mean, you know, things, I don't like everything this Amish, they ride by my place too. I got horse manure in my driveway sometimes, but, you know, we're in an agricultural county, it's the way it is.
Yep. And if we have a concern, we certainly can meet with whoever wants to meet and
Again,
have
if
a
it's
discussion.
safety, that's a big deal.
I don't know if I don't know how you guys feel about it, just maybe a little bit of input, if you had like more of a, I think we go about like a more of a public, I don't know, awareness about, especially with, I mean, you guys know that around here they do potatoes and they're dragging them out of the road and they do it about by me too, but I mean, farmers in spring and fall make a mess. I mean, how do you make people more
This is the one that
more
they were complaining
cognizant of
about,
like,
and that was Sunday
you know, like
morning.
I have stopped at a few Amish this last Wednesday through Friday. I went maybe 10 different houses and talked to them and just visited with them and whatnot. And then the conversations were they were good. They were so like, you know, some of them were just like, you know, if we see it, we try to ride the white line or get over as far as we can. And some guys are like, oh, just going down the road, it goes. And I'm not going to stop a shovel, but I'm not going to bring a shovel with me to stop. And he's like, and then I'll be on the road impeding traffic. And you know, if I'm completely stopped in rather than going 10 miles an hour, you know, so that was kind of except we had a lot of different conversations, but majority of them said we don't want to get manure on us while we're driving, you know, he goes, because we driving it flips up on us too. And we talked a little bit about getting buggies over further on the side of the road, and you know, is it harder on the buggy, harder on the animal? There was pros and cons of some of it, but it was more of the conversation that I had with majority of them, that we can just keep talking to more family members and more farms around here about you know, we need to be more cognizant about when the horses are going, just get them over a little bit more. But they also raise the question too, what happens when, you know, just for example, John Smith comes out of his farm ripping with his big spreader, and we've got, you know, gobs of manure and straw that could take a semi off a road rather than a pile of horse manure, and that sits there. And I said, yeah. And said, what about all the mud? And cause they referred to must have been a fall down here on 71. They said they were ripping potatoes out, and he goes, it was, you know, an inch thick of mud, but he's like, for a mile of those hundreds of trucks run up down the road. He goes, and they're not scraping it off. He goes, and if that's, he's like, why isn't that a safety violation opposed to ours? And I get both sides of it. I don't want to drive in stuff on the road. I know it's a safety hazard. There's, especially with, you know, lighter vehicles, motorcycles, whatever, and on the roads that have the hills. And the Amish I visit with on 210, along with a few farmers I visit with, they're also, we try to get as over or clean up stuff as much as possible. But and then I got a few more names on 24 to go visit them as well. But again, like, to Bob's credit, we're in agriculture. We're not going to get rid of it in its entirety. You're gonna have to deal with it somewhat. But how do we make more people more just aware of, like, we all need to share the road at the same rate anyways too. But
well, we get numerous complaints of dirt or mud on the road from coming out of farms, and we'll go down and look at it, and if it's excessive, we will require the owners of that property to go scrape it off. I mean, if it's a traffic hazard, for sure. but we get a lot of calls that come in that are maybe, I don't wanna call them frivolous, but they're not as aggressive as some of the ones that are a true traffic hazard.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're doing what I would expect. You're gonna go check them out. Like, hey, you gotta clean this up. I mean, beyond that.
Yes, and we
Otherwise,
typically don't get fight back.
Your budget would have to be expanded exponentially.
Yes, correct.
And there's a lot of stuff to work on here.
Yeah, and I know that the Amish community has been very, when I started, they didn't have lights on the back of them. And they were very open to that because we were able to, I wasn't part of that, but the people having those discussions were able to explain to them what the concerns
The
were.
danger was.
And we were seeing some significant crashes. Those we still have some, but not what we used to years ago. So.
And I think that's the main thing, is meet with the bishops up there. Okay, there's also, Douglas County had a really nice photo of where you could put your signs, location of your signs, and hand that information out to the Amish and say, here's where you can put your signs, this is where you can't put your signs, and educate them a little bit, you know, and if it's a picture, tells 1,000 words, so,
Well, if that's the case, we gotta tell the seal coaters to get them off the driveways too. I mean, you can't discriminate against one person having a sign to every other business. We got, like, on the way here, seal coaters, real estates, political signs, all within inches of the road. So I'm not gonna go around and support a letter of educating somebody when we're not gonna educate everybody.
It would have to be educate everybody.
Again.
You try to educate everybody, it's been on Facebook, it's been all over.
Absolutely.
Continue to put it on Facebook, continue to educate. And Tim, the first time I ran, I had signs disappear, and I'm like, why are my signs disappearing? And somebody said, well, did you ever check with MnDOT in Long Prairie? And I'm going,
The MnDOT pile.
So pulled into MnDOT in Long Prairie, here's a pile of my campaign signs. So I learned right away, do not put them in the road right away.
Yeah.
Let's just educate for everyone, but let's not legislate for just one thing.
You can't.
I mean,
No,
otherwise
you have to
we
be.
will never get stuff done. That's,
No.
I guess.
exceptions have to be just talked about, educated, but not necessarily legislated and regulated.
I just have one more piece. I'm not for meeting with the bishops. I'm for continuing, because the bishops don't live in the area. I'm for meeting with people, and that includes farmers too as well, and anybody else that's got a business, meeting with them face to face, case by case, trying to resolve the issue rather than bring in bishops. And again, I'm not going to single out one party when this whole county is full of agriculture, and that could be with anybody in our county. Any commissioner can go meet with people if there's issues, or
Commissioner, we met with all the bishops on the lighting issue.
And
that helped resolve a lot of issues.
That's drastically different than a manure on the road. Having lights and signage is drastically different than manure, because then I need to go meet with every single guy on 24 that farms and or has a business, and I gotta meet with them too, which is fine. I can do that, but I'm not gonna. I don't know. I'm not for meeting with bishops. I'm for doing. I have good relationships with all these people in the area, Amish included, and I feel like having the conversation with them, like I've been doing the last few days, has more impact than going over their head right away. Give them a chance to, and give them a chance to try to help out. Talk with me, and I think rather than just go above and beyond and try to get a chewing out from the higher ups is not the way to go about it in our small community. That's my 10 cents.
And I'm fine with that at this point, and hopefully the matter will resolve within itself.
Yeah. It's not gonna go away completely, but if we can mitigate some of it, that's be the goal here, and to keep relationships throughout the county.
Yeah. I mean, this one that they had that Sunday that we all got the calls, and, if a motorcycle would have come down, I mean, it would have been a safety hazard.
Right.
But you don't see that
Yeah.
all the time.
All the time, yeah.
And within 3-4 hours, it was pretty much gone, you know, but yeah.
Some hauler spilled animal fat all over 71, just to the, probably what, 100 feet from my property?
Yep, just
And they
this
had
last
the
week.
Long Prairie Fire Department out there spraying that thing down for over an hour. He just kept, I think it was Lawmeyer or somebody was over there, they were spraying it off, but
Yep.
you could see the stain on the 71, and
I think we get
so
slick
there are incidences that, you know, you gotta deal with
have
stuff
to.
now.
Yeah.
But, again,
And that's like blowing your lawn clippings on the road, same thing, you know. Watch out for the motorcycles.
Well, I appreciate you, Tim, going
Yeah,
in
absolutely, that's
and
something.
talking with them, and at this point, we will just kind of leave it at that unless we really get a lot of feedback again, and then we would have to.
Mike and Lauren, if you guys get complaints, let me know too, just to know who I can keep talking to about.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and if the commissioners get a complaint, certainly have them call our office, and we will go look at whatever's could be a hazard and take care of it.
Case by case basis.
Yeah.
would be
Absolutely.
nice,
Yeah.
Instead of, blowing it out
Yeah.
of proportion.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you,
all.
guys. With that, that should be the end of the work session?
Should be.
I'll go to 24 this week. I know 210 guys, I think Barb said she done 210.
I don't know, I wouldn't
Pretty
think
clean,
so.
like I've
No,
talked to those.
I don't think it will.